Yeah, they hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly. Yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. They wanna come take my place. I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation. Now I got rollies all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Squatting all black like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came with. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else, I had to set them straight, yeah. I had to ball, so I had to renovate, I know. They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. Put me down, so much drip, yeah, I almost drowned in it. I can't come it down, yeah, I'm way too fired up. I can't slow it down. Oh, yeah, yeah. I see the flashing lights, make sure the fashion right, yeah. I'm in my bag tonight, yeah.
All right. Good morning, family. Clap it up for you guys. Shout out to boxing. Back at it, another one in the books. Putting another one in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Grand arrivals happened yesterday. Man, David Benavidez looking like he's in exceptional shape. Got to talk about that. He looks slim and trim, guys. David Benavidez looking slim and trim. Good or bad thing? I mean, it all depends on how you look at it, right? I mean, we got to talk about it because he's definitely looking slim. But look, I'm sure he's going to be at 175 at the weigh-in. He's going to use whatever weight he needs to use. But I mean, obviously not understanding he's not the bigger guy in the ring and probably not trying to be the bigger guy, probably wants to be in shape with somebody as athletic as David Morrell. We'll talk about that. David Morrell under the lights showed up calm, cool, collected. You can't throw any shots at him for wanting to be as calm and cool as he could be, but it does look like the pressure might have been there a little bit. Let's see how that turns out for him. We'll talk about that as well, but he looked like he was basically taking it in and just taking his time with it. Good or bad, we'll talk about that as well. Stephen Fulton, David Figueroa. Salute JR Spock in the building. Oh, thank you, JR, man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, man. So, we're going to talk about this Stephen Fulton situation as well as Bozy Ennis, Stephen Fulton relationship. Bozy Ennis in the game in general, right? He's got three major fighters that he's pushing right now that are out there in the front: Stephen Fulton, Andy Cruz, and of course his son Jerron Boots Ennis. But we've noticed things. There's been some consistent things running there with Bozy and his fighters. We'll talk about that as well, and as far as how that may affect Stephen Fulton in a good or a bad way. Coming this weekend against Brandon Figueroa, a fighter who, in my opinion, is developing. It's been busier than Stephen Fulton, but this is their second fight. This is the sequel, but this one right here should separate the men from the boys, right? This fight is for a championship, WBC title on the line. So seeing how Stephen Fulton steps up to this is his opportunity for, I guess, what some people might want to call redemption. I don't know how they want to look at it, but it's Stephen Fulton carrying energy a little bit of it's all or nothing, right? As he said, the best overall man at the end of this fight, trying to see how that works out for him. Other things in the news, as far as Jaime Munguia in the news, bringing in Eddie Reynoso. That's going to be interesting. We'll talk about that as well. What is that going to affect? You know what I mean? What is that going to turn out for Jaime Munguia? He's moving the needle. One thing I've noticed with Jaime Munguia is he is moving the needle when he sees there needs to be adjustments, whether it's going into another promotional company to get the fights that he needs, whether he's going from his normal trainer to a Freddie Roach, or coming back to his trainer, or, you know, in this case scenario, moving around and bringing in Eddie Reynoso into the picture right now. He's always looking to tweak and move those intangible pieces around to give himself the best opportunity he can get in order to become a champion at the end of the day, right? Also gonna tap in a little bit more on the Paulie Malignaggi story today, right? We got to talk about that a little bit more. I actually had an opportunity to see the whole interview, where I only saw yesterday a piece of the interview, specifically when he was speaking about Gervonta Tank Davis, but overall, just like I thought the interview was, but they put out the whole interview. He was talking about the boxing space in general, right? Using Gervonta Tank Davis as an example, as something he was trying to clarify, but bringing in Devin Haney, we'll talk about that. He was bringing in a bunch of other fighters, talking about Turki Al-Sheikh, things of that nature. I thought the interview was a pretty good interview. Thought he hit on some good points. Obviously, there's, you know, points where we can push back and forth at his perspective, what he wants boxing to be, plugging away pro boxing, Pro Box TV, and what their mission is. And I'm sure that was part of what the interview was, getting some eyes on Pro Box TV. They're moved from Wednesday to Saturday evening, and, you know, trying to get in the big leagues, trying to get amongst the competitors now, and calling that out. We'll talk about that as well. You know what I mean? We'll talk about all those things and whatever else comes up to mind. And obviously, we'll have the panel open up towards the end of the show to bring up the panel guys that normally come up, and we could talk about boxing, get your point of view and perspective on it as well. Looking in the building right now, we do got a couple people who are popping up. I know the time of the day that I'm choosing to come up makes a difference. You know, the competition out there. You got the boxing voice. You got I'm Biz about to go up soon. I think Fanon might be running a live as well in the mornings, back as he's back as well in the space. So I know how that goes. But for everybody who is here, man, I appreciate you guys being here. Of course, on your way in, please hit that like button, you know, for the algorithm and whatever have you. You know what I mean? And for the people who catch it on the replay, if it's your first time, you know, take an opportunity to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit your bell icon, so you're all getting alerts when all this content is dropping. Let's see who's in the building, though. Throwing straight facts, boxing at the bottom of the screen. I'm noticing you. I'm assuming you changed your name. I don't remember. Or you haven't. Of course, grassroots right here with JR Spock in the building. With us this morning on this boxing talk. Cameron Fields, salute Queen. In the building here and on Blue Show. Always a pleasure seeing you here. Thank you for being here. Mr. Big Play Bray. Bray in the building saying good morning, boxing family, and good morning back to you, man. DGO 82. I don't ever know if I'm saying your name correct. I'm saying the letters. I don't know if it's Dego or Dijo or if it's DGO, as I've been saying it, but always appreciate seeing you in the building. What up, Clay? I got Figueroa KOing. What do you say here? What up, Clay? I've got Figueroa KOing Fulton. This dude ain't the same after facing the monster. We are going to talk about that, DGO, for sure, man. We got to talk about that because it does seem as if Stephen Fulton has been on a recovery journey, you know, since that Monster Inoue fight. He went in a hiatus. You know, every time you see him in front of the camera being interviewed, he seems like he's, you know, like he's forcing it. He's forcing this energy of confidence in what he knows he's going to do in the ring. But I've noticed some changes in the way he approaches the boxing game once he gets inside of that ring. And I don't know if I like what I see in the changes, but we'll talk about that because he's also made a transition over to Bozy Ennis. It's a new program. I don't know if that's the way, in comparison, that he wants to fight, in between the way he should fight, or where he was his most successful when Cool Boy was one of the, you know, pound for pound prospects, right? He wasn't a pound for pound fighter, but he was a prospect to be one of those guys when he was down at 122, and we were looking for him to develop in a different way. Monster Inoue did seem to derail him from where he was heading into, and it looks like he's trying to get it back. He's got an opportunity keeping in mind, of course, that he was talking about going to 130, but listen, when opportunity knocks, you got to answer the door. And at the end of the day, the opportunity was to fight for a WBC title against Brandon Figueroa, a sequel to a great fight that they had at 122, gives Brandon Figueroa an opportunity for some redemption as well. But we are going to talk specifically about Stephen Fulton, the changes he's made in his program, and see how that's helped or hurt him in the long run, and how that may affect this fight and what we should be looking forward to see from him and Brandon Figueroa as well. So salute to you, DGO. Shout out to Bugs. About it. I don't know if we're going to talk about Tank today, but I'm not going to lie to you, but a lot of times we just end up talking about Tank. It just ends up happening. I think a content creator once said, if you're not talking about Tank Davis, you're not talking about American boxing, right? He's one of the faces, and I'm sure he'll come up, and I'm sure you'll use that opportunity to engage and give us some good feedback. It's always good to have you in the building, Bub. Always, man. Let's see, JR Spot, DJ on Cameron. All right, Cameron Fields. Oh, Hoodrich in the building. Salute. Hope everything is good with you, your family. I know you got things going on outside of YouTube, of course. You know what I'm saying? Outside of boxing, you got things that are going on. Always good to see you, man. But yeah, we haven't built in a minute. Hope everything is good with you, man. Glad to see you in the building. Shout out to 2 Cents Boxing. 2 Cents Boxing and building. You guys, make sure you go over there and subscribe to her channel as well. She has a platform that is pushing, doing the same thing. We pretty much came around the same time, right? Right. 2 Cents. I don't know if it was the same exact time, but around the same time. We're of the same class. Maybe you say that, right? So definitely go subscribe over there to 2 Cents Boxing. And looking forward to see if she might even hop on the panel a little bit later. We got so many things to talk about. Yesterday's Grand Arrivals was bussing, right? Yesterday's Grand Arrivals went in. Did it go in? I don't know. I'm just a boxing fan. I get really excited when I see big cards like this coming. So I don't know if it was that great of a Grand Arrivals. I thought David Benavidez had the actual media workout. Remember when media workouts used to mean something, right? Used to mean something, right? You wanted to see what the fighters were looking like. Were they fast? Were they in shape? How were they looking mentally? The morale of the team. So many different things that you try to pull from the media workout. But nowadays, a lot of these fighters treat the media workouts like it's just kind of like a media obligation that they have to do. You know what I mean? They just kind of get it done, give you like 30 seconds of them throwing their hands around, shadow boxing a little bit, and they'll go back into their world. What David Benavidez gave us a show, right? Came out with his hands wrapped, warmed up, brought his son out there. And we got to talk about David Benavidez, his son as well, because that little kid is an entertaining, inspirational kid. And I could see that also. And we'll talk about it as we're talking about David Benavidez's workout. He seems like he has a force field around him, a good bubble around him, a family, right? Wife, father, brother, son, trainers, support. You see it when he comes to the ring. A lot of support for David Benavidez, insulating him from any negativity that may be coming from the outside. You see why David Benavidez is as confident as he is. We saw David Benavidez do a little face-off when this fight was building up, and everybody talked about his dad bod. You saw he put the work in. When you saw David Benavidez at this media workout, and we're getting ready to talk about it, we might even just go into it. He looks like he's dialed in. He definitely got in shape. He cut the weight. He's slim. Whatever hopes that people had about David Benavidez slipping up on something in this camp, I think yesterday's media workout, I don't know about everybody else, but yesterday's media workout showed me that David Benavidez is dialed in. I'll be honest, I'm leaning towards him to win this fight at this point. You guys know I was kind of leaning towards David Morrell a little bit earlier. This is still a very close, 50-50 fight, but I think after the media workout yesterday, just off the eye test and on the surface level of watching what I saw yesterday, I'm leaning towards David Benavidez. I'll make this like a 60-40 David Benavidez at this point, but I mean, not counting out David Morrell at all, but David Benavidez just looked real dialed in yesterday. Who else is in the building right now? We got a couple of people in the building. Shout out to Thomas Hill in the building. Ray here? You said Ray Davis, my guy. I didn't see Ray. I shot him the link, so I don't know. I know he's tired. Ray works the overnight shift, so he'll wake up and get in here as soon as he does. I'm sure we'll get him up here. Let's see. Kid Rich says, "Who you got in David Morrell, David Benavidez, and Fulton versus Figueroa?" Well, we're gonna talk about it, Rich. Right? I mean, I'm hoping as a community by the end of this show here that we're able to kind of come to a conclusion together, right? Which direction we're going to go into with this, because you don't want to count out David Morrell, but David Benavidez look great. As far as Figueroa and Fulton is concerned, we're going to talk about that, because a lot of this, I think, is on where is Stephen Fulton. I think naturally you want to give Stephen Fulton the edge, but you can't really, right? His last fight, he looked average. He got sat in his pockets. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. He doesn't look like he's quite got that momentum back. He hasn't been that active. I don't know if that's more so him choosing to be inactive, or is that just his handlers not getting him the right fights? Maybe he wanted to take a break after being stopped by Monster in a way. But I wouldn't fault you I wouldn't fault anybody leaning towards Brandon Figueroa to not only win but stop Stephen Fulton. But you never want to count Stephen Fulton out. He's made some changes in the camp. I don't know how that's going to affect him in the overall fight here. What's going on here in the building? We got Thomas Hill, Fly Frequency. Fly Frequency in the building, man. Salute to you, King. Thomas Hill, salute to you. And 9 fingers for show. Come to find out, 9 fingers really only has 9 fingers, man. It is what it is. Yeah, Rich said he got him wearing his jewelry now. I've been gone for a minute. I guess, honestly, I mean, it's no secret. I don't really, I don't rock with the brother, and I don't watch him too much. I wish him the best. I don't know what he's doing, but I know that he's had some moments in the past couple of months. And I'm hearing he's back and feeling in good health, so in good spirit. So that's always a good thing, man. Wishing him nothing but the best, man. Hoping just hoping it's working out. And if the jury is just maybe a sign of, of him letting go a little bit and working those things out and just kind of, loosening up a little bit. Maybe that's what it is. And that's always a good thing. But let's see here. I hear you, Hood Rich. I hear you, man. Let's tap in, though, man. You guys make sure you hit the likes. Let's get the show on the road, man. Let's start off with David Benavidez, man. David Benavidez slims up for this fight. Guys, I'm telling you guys, David Benavidez has such a force field around him, man. He's insulated so well, man. I love to see things like that, right? Another, the same thing goes with Abdullah Mason, right? These fighters who have a complete support system around them. Not only are they talented, right? Not only are they talented, but when you have that type of insulation around you, that type of support around you, man, it has to kind of inject even more confidence into the situation than is already there. Obviously, David Benavidez has always been a confident fighter, right? He's always been that monster. He's always carried himself as such. He's you just believe him when he speaks about what he's gonna do, who he is. You tend to just want to believe him. Probably one of the biggest reasons as to why you want to see him fight Canelo Alvarez. Not only what he does in the ring, but you see that he has a certain determination about him. Granted, in the beginning of David Benavidez's career, he was young. He had some things happen to him as far as family members passing away, as far as his environment, having to lose weight, things that he was dealing with that anybody growing up, in especially in a game like this, in a boxing game, when you have an older brother who's somewhat of a face in the sport, a father who's made himself a presence in the sports, and kind of big shoes to fill in, right? And that can affect anybody at the end of the day. But more importantly, what does he end up doing? It's like the decisions you end up making, the choices you end up making, right? We all deal with adversity, but it's not about the adversity necessarily, but how you deal with the adversity. And David seems to have dealt with that in a great way. He seems like he's dealing with it presently in a great way. A wife, a few children. I think his wife has a son, another son on the way, I believe, or a daughter. I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm not in their business like that, but I'm pretty sure his wife is expecting. He has a lot of things that are going to inspire him and put him in the right space. Hold on a second here. What do we got? 2 cents putting some color in the chat. I appreciate you, 2 cents, for putting some color in the chat. What she said, can you unblock GM? G-Man blocked him. Man, how do I unblock him? He's 2 cents. He's been telling me this for a while. I don't know how to unblock him. I don't know how to unblock anybody. I don't know that I have anybody blocked to the point where they can't be on the channel anymore. I really gotta go through some YouTube videos and figure out how that works. Tell GM, nothing personal, man. I'd love to have him on the channel, man. Kind of missing being around, but man, I don't know how to unblock him. I know he came in under another account at one point or another, that he was here under another account, and he was able to access space that way, but I don't know what blocked him. You know, I mean, obviously, G-Man, you're telling me blocked him, but I don't know how to unblock him just yet. Maybe you can walk me through it, 2 cents. I don't know if you've had anybody blocked on your channel that's trying to come in, but we'll talk about that a little later, right? But I appreciate the love. Thank you for the $2 holler, putting some color in the chat, guys. Don't be scared to put some color in the chat. What did Blue Blood say? Put $1 in the super chat, reset the super chat or something like that. Make sure it works. I don't know how it works, what he says, but you guys know what I'm referring to. The channel loves the support. We need the support, man, to keep the channel moving. So I appreciate it all, right? But yeah, David Benavidez slimmed up for this fight. My question is, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Slim and trim is good. It means he's in shape. He's going to be light on his feet. You have to assume that David Benavidez is going to try to match maybe a little bit of the athletic abilities of David Morrell. Understanding what David Morrell brings to the table, it just kind of shows you that David I hear you, 2 cents. It kind of gives you the understanding that David Benavidez and the team acknowledges the challenge that's in front of them with David Morrell, which is a good thing, right? Because what you don't want to see is him coming all big and like he doesn't care. He's just ignoring all the real possibilities that are in front of him when fighting David Morrell. But in so many ways, you're going to think that David Morrell is probably going to be the bigger guy in the ring that night, right? David Morrell is a natural 175 pounder. He looked good as far as the way physically he was looking, during the media workout, but he didn't show us too much as far as what he's been working on and what to expect from him. I was doing a lot of what do they say? Film study on David Morrell and, a bunch of different fights and watching how he fought. And obviously, if you've done any type of film study on David Morrell, that he's never fought anybody on the level of David Benavidez. This is going to be a whole different experience for David Morrell. But at the same time, if you watch and do a film study, you see all the possibilities with David Morrell. He doesn't fight just one way. He's very athletic, but he's also has a high pedigree, and he's aware. He has a certain awareness inside of that ring that's going to play a part in this fight. David Benavidez looks like he worked on a lot of speed in this fight, right? Which is something he brings to the table. That's what he does. He slimmed up for the fight. It's going to make him faster. He's letting his hands go. You saw what Andre Ward was working on with him a little bit. He acknowledged actually in the media workout saying that he worked on that jab. He wants that jab to play a certain role in this because he understands that he's going to want to establish a way to get inside of David Morrell's reach. He's got the reach advantage in this fight. Not the huge advantage, but that's where he's probably his most dangerous, is when he's able to pace the fight out and keep that fighter out there on the outside and being able to kind of pick him apart and catch him on his way in. That's what I'm assuming David Morrell's going to do, right? Probably attack the body a little bit, straight, right jabs to the body, stabbing him in the body, trying to discourage him from trying to clear that void. And David Benavidez on the opposite side of that conversation is going to be trying to get inside, and looks like he's going to be using the jab to do it. A lot of feints as well. You can kind of see him feinting the jab a lot in that media workout to cause David Morrell to move a certain way, but he wants to bring that fight in mid-range, because once that fight gets in there mid-range, that's when you're going to see the volume punching, right? That's when we're going to see the volume punching from David Benavidez. When he's able to cross that mid-range, get it inside, it's going to be up to David Morrell to do one of a few different things, right? It's either going to be David Morrell's going to clinch him, use his lateral and footwork to move out the way and catch David Benavidez as well. Test that RoboCop theory that he has about how David Benavidez fights, or he's going to make a mistake and try to exchange David Benavidez in there, which you can't help but believe that David Benavidez is probably going to win those exchanges. He's got super fast hands. His punches are short. He's not really extending completely on those punches. And David Morrell seems to have a wider, trajectory when he's throwing his punches. It just seems like he chooses to do that a lot. His shots are going to have to be very straight in this fight, guys, right? He's going to have the very straight shots in this fight right here. He wants to beat David Benavidez to a lot of these punches. And I don't know where Morrell it really sits when it comes to that speed game and that mid-range game. And I think that's where this fight is going to come down to. It's going to come down to David Morrell being able to adjust to that mid-range game, but also it's going to have to be David Benavidez adjusting as well. If that jab is not working to get him in there unscathed, if the power starts to translate in a way where it's hurting David Benavidez, how's he going to deal with that? How is he going to adjust to that? And of course, in the latter rounds, in the championship rounds, we're going to see what David Morrell does, right? Because you're going to look for David Benavidez to move forward in the championship rounds and shine. That's where he shines, is in that conditioning. And if you see how he slimmed up, if you see how good in shape that he looks like he's in, it looks like it's not going to be a problem. Conditioning is not going to be a problem for David Benavidez. Also, let's keep in mind, guys, I want us to keep in mind that at the end of the day, David Benavidez's last performance, a lot of people are using that performance to kind of indicate what it's going to look like in this fight. We have to acknowledge the ailments. I know people don't want to acknowledge the ailments. I get it, right? Like, we don't want to hear excuses about why you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the fight, right? But sometimes, unfortunately, or an inconvenient truth is there that if David Benavidez was dealing with a bruised knuckle, if he was dealing with issues with his hands, if he had 10 stitches in his eye 3 weeks before the fight, it affected his sparring. It affected a lot of things he had going into this fight. He's he's straight up, frankly, said that all those things have been fixed. He's 100%. And this is going to be the difference maker in this fight in comparison to what he did in his last fight. And I think it's funny to talk about that way because we're speaking about it as if David Benavidez lost his last fight, right? But this is off the back end of a victory of his first fight at 175 pounds. But needless to say, probably a way more active, way more confident David Benavidez in this fight. David Morrell, we got to see if he's going to be a fish out of water in this fight, right? We got to see if he's going to be a fish out of water in this fight. There's a lot of pressure on David Morrell, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not. This is the biggest show he's ever been a part of. He's headlining it against a pound-for-pound boxer in David Benavidez, maybe a future face of boxing fighter in David Benavidez. You can see a lot of money's been put behind David Benavidez doing well. They're counting on him doing some great things. David Morrell knows he has that pressure on him. He knows he has that pressure on him. And whether he doesn't, maybe he didn't realize it as the buildup was happening, but you can kind of see yesterday in the media workout as he was realizing and hearing all the David Benavidez fans, being that this fight is in Vegas, right there on the West Coast, a lot of Mexican support out there. David Morrell starting to feel it and understand that he's on the road. And David Morrell, if my memory serves me right, has always kind of like fought at home in Minnesota at the Armory Hall or whatever it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's kind of always had the support of the crowd a little bit. He's never really been like the outside guy looking in, right? He's always been the star. Well, this is not the case. This is not the case for David Morrell this time around. This time around, David Morrell is definitely on the outside looking in. He's in David Benavidez's house, in his backyard. The Mexican fans are not short of words, not the most polite fans when it comes to expressing their feelings when they're having different thoughts about you. They're not going to hold and bite their tongue. They're letting him know to the point where you actually saw David Morrell in the middle of that interview during the media workout. Guys, I don't know if you saw it, but David Morrell actually got into it with the fans a little bit, right? Asking them to relax and calm down, and you guys are doing the most. And it's just like, nah, they're not doing the most. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're supporting their fighters, right? They're supporting their fighter, and they do it second to nobody else. A Mexican fan base is probably one of the most, I don't want to say toxic. That's a bad word, but they're one of the most intense fan bases in the space when it comes to supporting their fighters. I mean, you could only hope to have fans like the way Mexicans support their fighters. David Benavidez is going to have that support in the building that night. David Morrell is going to be the outside looking in. The judges might even be getting influenced and swayed about what's going on in there. He's going to have to win each round convincingly, especially obviously if he doesn't stop David Benavidez to win this fight. He has to be on point, man. He can't let David Benavidez steal these rounds. He can't make it look like he won the round if he didn't win the round. He has to make sure he takes each round, one round at a time, set up David Benavidez. David Benavidez has never been stopped. David Morrell can't count on stopping David Benavidez, right? He can't count on that. He has to anticipate the worst case scenario, which is either, I'm not saying he has to think about himself being stopped. He shouldn't be thinking about that. He should just know, I don't know. He shouldn't be thinking about that, right? But he has to take into consideration that this is going to go in front of the judges. And what is that going to look like? Each round is going to make a difference. This is a lot of pressure for David Morrell. So it's either going to be David Morrell. The pressure is either going to bust David Morrell's pipe, pause just in case it belongs in there, or make a diamond, right? David Morrell becomes a star, shows that he's built for this light. He's built for the limelight. He's built for the pressure, and literally take the momentum from David Benavidez with a victory in this fight and become a star within himself, becoming the guy to beat, the guy to fight, the big draw, maybe even getting a whole bunch of fans in the building if he's able to perform the right way against David Benavidez. So we got to see what is going to happen, right? And until it does happen, you get this feeling that David Morrell is going to be faking it until he makes it. And that's what it looks like he's doing right now. He's faking it until he makes it, because he's never been here before. And this is going to play a big role in how he performs. David's going to have to tune out, Morrell that is. He's got to tune out this noise. And you're hoping that he does that. If you want David Morrell to win this fight, you're definitely hoping that he's doing that the right way, that he's tuning out this noise right now and focused on what's in front of him right now, which is the biggest task of his life, which is defeating a phenom like David Benavidez, coming in with the momentum that David Benavidez is coming into that ring with, right? David Benavidez is almost celebrated as somebody who scared Canelo Alvarez into not fighting him, right? He has that on his resume. Even though he hasn't fought Canelo Alvarez, it's almost like he has a Canelo Alvarez victory already. He's treated as the monster that Canelo didn't even want to fight. So he's got a momentum that's helping him and pushing him forward into this match. It's definitely going to play a factor. David Morrell is facing the whole world Saturday night. Let's see how he handles it. Hold on one second here. Let's see how he definitely handles it. What's going on in the chat here? What's going on in the chat here? You know that I kind of be ignoring you guys a little bit, don't I? Let me see. Salute to Mr. Lightning in the building. Salute to you, Mr. Lightning. Bug Boxing said, okay, Bug Boxing getting into it with somebody. Benavidez was digging the body, but Morrell is ready for that. That's going to be a good fight. I'm wondering what let me ask a question to the chat, by the way. Who do we got as far as David Benavidez and David Morrell winning this fight at this point in the building? I know a lot of people are supporting Benavidez. A lot of people are supporting David Morrell, but I'm interested in what everybody thinks about going into this fight. Salute to the Chop Shop. Salute to you. You being here. Says, I'm a little nervous for my guy Benavidez. This fight, it's a very dangerous fight for him. It definitely is. It definitely is the Chop Shop. 100%. 2 cents. You and Ray think you funny. Yeah, 100% Chop Shop. It's a dangerous fight for David Benavidez. In a way, I asked myself, David Benavidez coming in slim that way, how's that going to affect him as far as absorbing the shots coming from David Morrell? And that's going to be another important part of this fight. It's going to be power, right? The power is going to be what David Benavidez is got to be aware of. And if he's not aware of it, can David Morrell make him aware of it? The power is going to make the difference. If David Benavidez is able to weather that storm, absorb that punishment without it really affecting him, if it's not a new day for David Benavidez in that ring, it's going to be a horrible night for David Morrell. He has to change it all up for David Benavidez. He has to change up the whole perspective of this fight. And I'm interested in seeing what that's going to look like. Afterwards, David Benavidez talking about his plans of potentially going up to cruiserweight. The way he was talking, I thought he was going to start putting on some weight, but he's slim for this fight. So, I mean, you know, he's a naturally big guy, believe it or not. As skinny and slim as he looked in the media workout, he's a naturally big guy. So he might not be so concerned about being a big guy. He's probably more so concerned about his conditioning and the shape that he's in. Let's see here. Chop Shop interacting here. What are you saying here? The Chop Shop said, that's why I respect Benavidez so much. He's the type of fighter that I watch boxing for. Fighters like him, Devin, Spence, and Wilder fight whoever and whenever. That's true. That's true, man. Fly Frequency says, Clay, I think Benavidez speed going to be a problem for Morrell. I think it's going to be a problem for Morrell. The speed is going to be a problem for Morrell in the mid-range. If Morrell's able to establish distance, stay on that jab, stabbing him to the body, keeping David Benavidez, discouraging David Benavidez from making it a mid-range fight, I think David Benavidez is effective with the speed in a mid-range situation. He's not like fast with his feet. He's fast with his hands, if that makes any sense. So as long as he's in the mid-range, he's extra fast from the waist up, right? But his legs don't necessarily match that. He's not as fast. And if David Morrell is able to keep his moving on his pivot and keeping it lateral and testing his footwork, that can slow David Benavidez down. If not slow him down, make him run into a lot of shots, because this is where David Morrell excels at. But on the outside, if he's able to keep and establish that distance, I think David Morrell can counter that so-called speed that everybody knows David Benavidez to have. And I think he can end up exposing David Benavidez in a certain way. Just let it be known that, at the end of the day, the reason he looks so fast is because his fans, as long as his fans, excuse me, I said fans. I was looking at a text message that came in through here. He might expose David Benavidez to the world to say, listen, as long as he has those long arms and he's the bigger guy and those hands are as fast as they are, he looks fast. But in all reality, he's not as fast as he looks if you're able to keep him outside of that mid-range. And it's going to be interesting to see David Benavidez kind of, prove that to be wrong, on his speed. We'll see what it is. We'll see what it is. Who do you got it? Hold on a second. Who do we got in the building? Chop shot. That's why I respect. Shout out to Jose H. Moreno in the building. Second day I've seen you in the building, man. Welcome back. I appreciate seeing you here. It says Mexican Monster coming to town. KO by 7th round. It's very possible. 100% very possible. Let's see. Ronnie Shields has to be factored as well. I know the game plan will be on point. 100%. The chop shop. That's a great perspective. And let me add to that to say that that's what I mean by David Morrell being able to tune out the noise, because that building is going to be against him. And he's got to be able to focus his energy on paying attention and manifesting and carrying out and executing what Ronnie Shields and him have worked on these past couple of months. He has to listen to Ronnie Shields, because there's going to be moments in this fight where David Morrell is going to have to adjust, and Ronnie Shields is going to help him adjust, right? He has a B plan and a C plan. I'm sure he does. So he's going to be making him adjust. And David Morrell has to tune out what he's listening going on in the building, all the heckling that's going to be happening. He has to tune that out and focus his energy on him and Ronnie Shields being on the same page. It's going to be very important. But yeah, Ronnie Shields is going to play a very important part in this fight as long as David Morrell keeps Ronnie Shields right here on his shoulder and right here in his ear. That's going to be very important to see him and watch him do that. But definitely good perspective. Ronnie Shields is definitely going to play his role in this one. Let's see here. Buzz Boxing said Morrell has the footwork, so Benavidez will have a problem keeping up unless he goes to the body early. For sure. 100%, Bub. We're on the same page. Who would have known, right, Bub? Nah, 100%, man. It's going to play its role. The footwork is where the footwork of David Morrell is going to be where he's able to neutralize David Benavidez's hand speed, because his ability to get out of range, get in range, or stay in range, but move on angles and force David Benavidez to have to use his own footwork to counter what David Morrell is doing is going to make the difference on what that speed looks like. If David Benavidez is able to keep up, and I'm going to tell you guys, yesterday in yesterday's media workout, you saw his feet moving a little bit more. You saw him kind of working on positioning, getting his head off that line and using his feet. Now, it looks good inside the ring when he's doing mitt work or punching a bag, like I believe it was Teddy Atlas said. It looks great because you got a bag that's not punching you back. Those mitts aren't punching you back. You're not suffering any consequences for being off step or off beat or off rhythm, however you want to look at it in the ring. With David Morrell, it's going to be a different situation. So we're going to have to see how he deals with that. We're going to have to see how he deals with that. And that's going to make the big difference in his fight. Where we at here? Bub, Chop Shop. Yes, Fire. That's what's going to be interesting to see. Can Morrell fight on the back foot? For sure. Does David Benavidez fight off the back foot? Does David Benavidez fight well off the back foot? Because I hear you guys. I'm be real with you. I think David Morrell can fight off the back foot. Is he able to generate the power? We'll see. But he's athletic. He moves around well. He has great footwork. David Benavidez kind of has a way. You know what's funny? Yesterday, David Benavidez was coming down the steps during the media workout, and I pay attention to these stupid things, right? He was walking down the steps to come down to the ring in the media workout. And if you guys pay attention, he kind of missed a step a little bit, kind of like stumbled a little bit. He's got like stiff, straight legs. Does that make sense? Am I going crazy by saying that? Am I? I know. He doesn't bend his knees like that, right? He fights tall, and he was coming down the steps, and he just kind of like had a clumsy moment coming down the steps. he had a clumsy moment, right? And to me, in my mind, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but I did see it, and I said to myself, damn, bro, like, you know what I mean? Like, as an athlete, you know, I mean, he had his son walking down the steps in front of him. Maybe he was paying attention to his son, and, you know, he almost missed a step, but he just had, like, you know, I don't know. He had a clumsy moment. And we've never seen David Benavidez be the super footwork guy, moving around, you know, pivoting and doing things like that. It's never really been the way he approaches it. But I think David Morrell is going to put him in a position to have to expose whether or not he's really good at that, and he hasn't been using it because he doesn't have to, or if that's really a crutch for him, right? And also, if that's not really who David Benavidez is, and he's trying to do that all of a sudden Saturday night, he's kind of leaving the best version of himself at home at that point, trying to implement all these new things, right? All these new things that he's been working on. This could be also at the foundation of the downfall of a David Benavidez tomorrow night. Saturday night, right? So we got to check it out here. The Morrell got footwork and slickness. 100% Godchild. Salute to you, brother. Don't know if I've seen you on here before, but welcome to the channel. Yeah, he's got the footwork. I think we all kind of like coming together on that to understand that footwork is going to play an important factor in this fight. I wonder how David Benavidez has prepared for the footwork. And I've always been a subscriber to the idea of what Mike Tyson says, right? You hear me saying it, which is, make sure you leave the dance with who brought you to the dance. And what brought David Benavidez to the dance is that forward pressure, volume punching, right? Walking and coming forward, walking the opponent down, putting them on their back foot, stalking his opponents. If he adapts something else, trying to show and prove that he's this versatile fighter, it could be a good thing, you know, if it works out for him, but it could be the reason why we'll be talking about it Sunday morning, talking about why did David Benavidez lose his fight? What did he do wrong? What should he have done? These things could come up the day after, right? If he doesn't carry it the right way. Let's see King Swisher. King Swisher in the building. Salutes. If you guys remember to hit the like button on your way in. And also, of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, take an opportunity to go ahead and do that. Hit your bell icons next to that subscribe button so you are getting alerts when the content is coming out here. The longer the fight goes, the more trouble Morrell will be in. Possibly. How about this, guys? Another important part of this fight for David Morrell is going to be his energy and his conditioning. Is David Morrell going to, I'll say pause early, blow his load before this goes through? Let's be honest, right? Caleb Plant did the same thing against Canelo Alvarez, kind of did that with David Benavidez as well. Not kind of, pretty much did that with David Benavidez as well. Is David Morrell did he buy into that, guys? Did David Morrell buy into the idea that he can't win a decision in this fight? And if he did, what does that look like between round 1 and round, let's say, 6 and 7? What does that look like? Are we going to watch David Morrell blow his load, throw all of his energy off, trying to discourage and stop David Benavidez, ultimately leaving the championship rounds, let's say round 8 to 12, leaving David Benavidez an opportunity to expose David Morrell's conditioning? Because we know David Benavidez kicks up into the second and third gear in the latter half of this fight. He has great conditioning. Can we see that happening as well? Shout out to Respect in the building. Let's see here, Respect. It said I put $1,800 on Benavidez. Do you think I should cancel my bet? My bet also will Fig beat Fulton. I put $1,800 on Benavidez. No. Why would you cancel your bet? I mean, that sounds. I mean, David Benavidez has to be the favorite, the favorite fight. I haven't looked at the odds yet. I'm actually going to start doing that too as well. I'm going to do a little section in these shows where when I'm kind of showing you the bets and the odds in the way I'm kind of looking at them. I'm going to tell you like this: if David Morrell, I don't know. Obviously, I'm assuming that David Morrell is the over on this one, right? He's where the money's at on this one, and I think he's a good bet as well, though. I really think David Morrell's a good bet. You got to think with David Benavidez, you know, you're expecting to make the small amount of money on him. He's favored. He brings in the resume. But I can't tell you to go ahead and cancel that. That's not, I mean, it's hard for me to go against that bet. And who's going to win between Fig? Will Fig beat Fulton? We're about to talk about it next, man. We are definitely about to talk about it next. Trust me when I tell you that. Let's see here. Queen Swisher says, also, I think David is catching Morrell at the perfect time. If you wait any longer to fight him, it wouldn't be good. Yeah, King Swish, that makes sense too. I was thinking about that as well. You waited long enough, to be honest with you. At 168, some people would say that you should have took the fight then. At 175, while David Morrell is adjusting and acclimating to the new weight division, this is probably the best time to kind of catch him and get him out of the way, right? Your hardest fights will be in front of you at that point. If you leave David Morrell in the background, he could derail. The more experience David Morrell gets, the more of a threat he's going to be to David Benavidez. I agree with you 100%, man. I like Fig and Morrell to get a knockdown. I like that. Yeah, man. I'm mad at that anyway. It was negative 180 when I bet. Yeah, man. And what was it on respect? What was it for Morrell? If you bet on Morrell, do you remember what that looked like? Let me know. Shout out to Secret Dance Move in the building saying smart money is on Morrell. The casuals betting on Benavidez. There you go. I don't know if it's the casuals, man. Look, Benavidez has earned the respect. Secret Dance Move. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. He's earned the respect and he does have the experience. I don't think it's a casual bet to bet on Benavidez, but I do think it's a foul on your side if you're sleeping on David Morrell's ability to stop and make the difference in this fight. David Morrell is very equipped to handle this fight, man, without a doubt. Let me see here. Bub, what did Bub say? The Secret Dancer who said the Mexican Chihuahua is getting put to sleep. I hear you, man. Shout out to BR215 in the building. It seems like they're trying to sucker you into Benavidez. He's a negative 80. That's very low odds for him. Yeah. And they kind of know what it is, right? They know. Yeah, plus 155 for Morrell. You see what I'm saying? I think David Morrell is a good bet, man. I think that's a good bet, but it's not the best that it could be. They're steering you away from David Morrell. They're trying to make the bet. They're trying to make the odds close enough to where most people are betting on David Benavidez, which lets you know, in my opinion, it lets you know that Vegas isn't sold on David Benavidez winning this fight all the way. But they're going to put the bet out there to kind of make it look, you know what I mean, tangible, where people are making a hard decision. But the money does seem to be with David Morrell on this fight. But what I saw with David Benavidez yesterday, he looked super sharp, guys. He looked real sharp. Secret Dance Move says Morrell been sparring Manuel Gallegos and Hot Rod to prepare for this fight. I didn't know he was sparring Hot Rod. That's good. Perfect sparring partners for me. Yeah. Respect said, plus 135. See, they're bringing it closer and closer. Shout out to Champ. Yeah. Ray Davis getting ready. He in the back typing, says he hurts Benavidez for sure. Ray, I already know how you feel about it. Let's move on. Let's move the needle, man. So with David Benavidez and David Morrell on Saturday night, both these guys, I'm expecting them to make the weight. Pressure. David Morrell needs to tune out the noise. David Morrell needs to be on the same page with Ronnie Shields. David Morrell needs to win this fight one round at a time, dominating each round until he's either able to stop him or make it undeniable for the judges. David Benavidez has to be himself and be confident in who he is going into this fight. Going into this fight with David Benavidez, with David Morrell, you don't want to see him change too much, but there's going to be moments in this fight where David Benavidez is going to have to make some adjustments. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how he does that. Very interesting to see that. Let's move forward, though, and talk about the best man overall. The best man overall in this fight, Brandon Figueroa, Stephen Fulton, 2 going down Saturday night. Another interesting fight, guys, right? Let me take a swig of some H2O before I jump into this one, because this is going to be an interesting conversation. Stephen Fulton and Brandon Figueroa Saturday night. They came out for their media workouts. Guys, Stephen Fulton just hasn't been himself. Let's be honest. Just hasn't been himself since that Monster Inoue loss. Just hasn't. And he made some adjustments, right? He brought in Bozianis, a Philadelphia native just like himself, and he got involved with that program, and we got to see what it looked like when he fought against, I believe it was Carlos Castro. I don't want to be wrong on this. Let me just pull up his last fight. Good old box rec. Let's see here. Yeah, it was Carlos Castro, right? Took it to a decision, got a split decision with Carlos Castro, but got sat on his pockets. He got knocked down in the 5th round, and he got buckled, I think, in the 6th round. And even that 5th round was real ugly for him, but in the 6th round, he got buckled again. And I want to say in a later round, don't know which other round it was, but he got buckled. He got clipped a couple times in this fight. He was able to weather the storm, but the most important thing with Stephen Fulton is all of a sudden he's become a pocket boxer, right? He sits in the pocket a lot. and he likes to exchange. Well, he wants to hit you. He wants to sit on his punches all of a sudden. He's looking for knockouts. And Stephen Fulton, going into that fight with Carlos Castro, said that this fight at 126 with Carlos Castro was just going to be a stepping stone fight, that he was actually looking to move up to 130 pounds at that point. But he got an opportunity to fight Brandon Figueroa. He can't pass up on it for a WBC title. It's a great opportunity. He takes the opportunity. But the last time him and Brandon Figueroa fought, you guys knew it was a shootout. It was a straight up shootout. And a lot of that, you have to give it to Brandon Figueroa his credit, because he was able to force Stephen Fulton, dare I say, or bait Stephen Fulton into a melee. That you would think that normally Stephen Fulton liked to be the slick fighter. To see him fight Brandon Figueroa that way, I gave Brandon Figueroa a lot of the credit for being able to pull Stephen Fulton out of his comfort zone and cause Stephen Fulton to fight in a way that, he normally doesn't fight, but you can see he has it in him. And that's from that Philadelphia, the sparring going on in Philadelphia, that work they're doing in the gym out there. It's a lot of dog fighting going on out there. So if you test Stephen Fulton, he just shows you that, it's in him to fight that way. But Brandon Figueroa was able to hurt Stephen Fulton in that fight. But ultimately, Stephen Fulton able to come out with a victory in that fight. And was that a majority decision? I believe, yeah, it was a majority decision with Brandon Figueroa. So Brandon Figueroa coming up short in that fight. But since that fight, let's see, Brandon Figueroa has fought about a solid 3 or 4 times. Let me see. Yeah, right. So he fought Carlos Castro, where he knocked Carlos Castro out. Right. So they share that opponent. Then he fought Mark Mixayo, and then Jesse Magdaleno. He looked a little bit lackluster in those fights, especially against Mark Mixayo. People just kind of like him not knocking him out, I guess, made him made the fight average. And that's how they're doing people today, right? Like, even on the back end of victories, when you look at Boots Ennis and his victories, or you look at David Benavidez in his last victory, people throw shots at the victories. If it's not done the right way, they think the fighter is digressing, whatever have you. But he's been busy, more importantly, since the last time he fought Stephen Fulton and got himself a belt, right? An interim championship. And right now, I think would be the actual WBC champion, being that Ray Vargas is kind of like in recess right now, right? So what has Stephen Fulton been up to? Since that fight with Monster Inoue, he's fought 1 fight, right? And that was in 2023. Then he fought in September 2024, which was a little over a year since he had fought last, and fought Carlos Castro, and went to a split decision that a lot of people thought that Stephen Fulton lost that fight. Me personally, I'm with it either way. I was okay with the decision of him winning, but I think more importantly, forget the win, there was a loss in a certain way, because at the end of the day, you saw him digress. You saw the effect of him in Bozy. And let me pull back on that. Did we see the effect? I'm going to ask that question to the chat. Did we see the effect of Bozy Ennis in this fight? Was Bozy Ennis the difference in between, let's say, Stephen Fulton back when he fought Daniel Roman or Brandon Figueroa, in comparison to how he looked? I mean, forget about the loss of Monster Inoue. We know what happened in that fight. But is that the difference that we're seeing with Carlos, the fight he had with Carlos Castro, or in all reality, has Stephen Fulton just lost a little bit of his edge at this point? Either way, going into this fight with Brandon Figueroa, it does look like Brandon Figueroa is bringing the momentum with him. Shout out to Mr. Big Play Bray. Almost missed that super chat, man, with the $2 holla. Says, respect your business model, boxing over feelings. 100%, man. We got to talk about this boxing, right? It ain't about the feelings. We got to talk about the boxing. But Stephen Fulton looking like he hasn't gotten his mojo back, and Brandon Figueroa looking like he's well into his mojo. Very confident. Looks like he's doing well with the weight class. Some people might have said the weight cut was killing a little bit at 122, that now that he's at 126, he's a little bit more comfortable. He seemed a lot more happier than Stephen Fulton at the media workout when they had their little face-off. Stephen Fulton looked a little more determined, a little more angry, a little rougher around the edges, didn't shave, didn't get a haircut. That's a good thing, right? Or it could be a bad thing if it is a representation of where his mentality is at. Maybe, I don't know. But at the end of the day, Stephen Fulton had an all or nothing energy, right? It was all or nothing for him, the way it looked like in a media workout, as you even referencing the press conferences, really saying that, he was tired of people playing with him. Looks like he just has an issue with the way the boxing game has, maybe from his perspective, turned its back on him. Let's say that, right? I'm interested in seeing what Bozy Ennis's program is doing for Stephen Fulton. Is it benefiting him? Because I'm having questions, and Bozy Ennis, like I told you guys, if you guys watch my other lives, I told you guys in the beginning of last year, Bozy Ennis to me was in the conversation for boxing trainer of the year, right there next to Robert Garcia. But as the events unfolded with him, with the Boots Ennis performances, the two fights Boots Ennis had, and moving forward with the fight Stephen Fulton had, and even with the Andy Cruz fight as well, that he had against Antonio Moran, you start to see his fighters kind of getting clipped a little bit more, taking a lot more shots, trying to fight like Boots, sitting in the pockets, trying to slip punches, but stay in position to throw back those shots, to be able to sit on those shots and throw as much power as they can. And it looks like Bozy's trying to get a spirit of stopping fighters coming out of his camp. Stephen Fulton didn't look like that translated well with him when he fought Carlos Castro. You guys let me know if you think if I'm crazy on it. It didn't look like it worked out well for Carlos Castro, the Carlos Castro fight. Going into this fight against Brandon Figueroa, who's proven himself to be a tried true puncher right at this point. What is Carl? Let's see here. Let's see what Brandon Figueroa's knockout ratio is right now. 76% knockout ratio, 25 wins, 19 knockouts. That one loss to Stephen Fulton to a majority decision, 19 knockouts. He's a puncher. But he's also got a 72.5-inch arm reach going into this fight. He's a taller fighter. Stephen Fulton is obviously going to be looking to make this a mid-range fight naturally. That's where he's going to be effective. But it does seem like Stephen Fulton is going to be a little aggressive. Like you can anticipate him being a little bit more aggressive in this fight. He seems to have a chip on his shoulder. That provides an opportunity for some educated hands like Brandon Figueroa. So going into this fight, where do I see this fight going? You can't help but lean towards Brandon Figueroa in this fight. Unless Stephen Fulton's able to really, and unless Bozy as well has been working with Stephen Fulton to allow Stephen Fulton to be himself, this is going to be a fight where I can see Brandon Figueroa stopping Stephen Fulton. I'm being honest with you guys, inside of 6 rounds. I know it's a crazy prediction, but I think inside of 6 rounds, I can see it happening unless Stephen Fulton is gone back a little bit into his boxing pedigree, moving, hitting and not getting hit. Those things, unless those things are important to him, I think we're going to see Stephen Fulton get stopped early in this fight. I'm not going to lie to you. But we'll see what happens. He puts it all on the sleeve. He puts it all on his sleeve and leaves it all in the ring. He can also stop Brandon Figueroa as well. But I don't know how this new version of Stephen Fulton is going to stand as far as in front of a Brandon Figueroa, who's, like I said, has all the momentum behind him right now at 126. Let's see. Rick Champion, salute to you, man. I don't know if it's your first time in the building, but if it is, welcome to the channel. Says, man, Morrell Jr. not afraid of him. Most of the Taco Monster, we're afraid of him. Ain't happening with Morrell, man. I hear you, man. Let's see here. Big Supreme says, cool boy punch resistance is gone. Man, bro, I can't fight it, man. I can't lie to you, man. Big Supreme, you might have a point there, man. I don't know. And the question is, has he acknowledged that? Has he acknowledged that punch resistance is gone, or is he going to double down? We'll see. We'll see what him and Bozy worked on. Chop said, I got Fulton. I think he will shock the world again. All right. I mean, at least you're acknowledging it'll be a shock. Right? You're acknowledging that it'll be a shock. And I mean, that kind of speaks to the point that we're all kind of worried about with Stephen Fulton. We're not expecting him to do it, but if he does do it, it will be a big shock. Is this on pay-per-view? Of course, Bobby Collins, the PBC card is 100% going to be on a pay-per-view. You already know it. Let's see. Big Supreme says, Brandon Figueroa leads with his head and telegraphs he might be able to beat Figueroa on second thought. Yeah, Brandon Figueroa does do that, right? But I do believe that the experience of fighting Stephen Fulton in that last fight is going to play a part in this fight. I do think Brandon Figueroa sharing 12 rounds with Stephen Fulton is going to play a certain a big part actually in this fight, and how the version of Brandon Figueroa we're going to see in this fight. I don't expect him to be as aggressive as he was in that first fight. I don't think he needs to be. And I think his team is going to realize that he's going to use that 72.5-inch arm reach. And at the end of the day, I believe Stephen Fulton is probably going to be the aggressor in this fight. I don't want him to be the aggressor in this fight, but if he is the aggressor in this fight, Brandon Figueroa might not be fighting with his head forward as much as he might be fighting tall in this fight. That might be where he realizes the changes needs to come. I might I can anticipate seeing Brandon Figueroa fighting taller in this fight and forcing Stephen Fulton to do what he has to do in order to go ahead and close that void up and make this fight a mid-range fight. Let's not give him anything. Let's make him earn everything. That's what I'm expecting to see from Brandon Figueroa with the experience of what happened. If he was want to ask himself, what did I do wrong in that last fight? I think it's going to be this right here, leading with that head and telegraphing certain punches. That's the experience that I'm expecting him to bring into this next fight against Stephen Fulton. Let's see what ends up happening though. But that's a great what's the word I'm looking for? A great perspective, you know what I mean? A great point of perspective that you saw. Carlos Castro has fast hands, for sure. But Fulton got his timing and started hurting Castro. Yeah, he did, but he also got hit. Let's see here. Big Supreme. Thank you for the engagement, Big Supreme. You're really in the building today, man. Thank you, King. Figueroa is kind of predictable. He doesn't present the same issues as Castro, who has fast hands and reflexes than Figueroa. Yeah. Let's see here. Hella predictable. Styles make fights. I'm going down here. I was thinking of doing a 3-pick parlay. Let's see here. Let's see. Parlay K Davis. Keyshawn Davis? Oh, you talking about the February 14th card? You're going to combine it with this one. Okay. Fig and Benavidez for like 900. Hard Rock allows you to do future bets. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hard Rock. Okay. I see what you're saying. Ooh. I ain't mad at that, man. I ain't mad at that parlay, respect. I ain't mad at it. What you talking about? Seminole, Hard Rock in Florida, respect? You talking about the Seminole casino? You out there, man? Out there in Broward? Let's see. Jay Boxes I always like skateboards more. Okay. All right. Yep. Fulton. Well, let's see. Secret Dance Move says Fulton is in for a world of pain if he don't improve hugely from the last fight. Yeah, man. Shout out to Ray Davis. I think Ray Davis said he was at a doctor's appointment or something like that with his kid. So he's probably just talking from his phone. He says, I think he has a memory lapse and he hurts Figueroa, but Brandon Fig fall for the victory. Okay. Let's see here. Let's keep it moving. I see a whole lot of stuff here. Oh, yeah, you in Broward? Okay, Big Supreme. Yeah, he out there in Broward, Big Broward. For sure, man. I used to be in Hollywood, in that Hollywood Hard Rock Casino all the time when I was out there. Good clubs in that building. I can't remember the name of the club. What's the club that's in Hard Rock? Who's a bussing? It was a bumping club up in that casino. Bumping club up in there. Let's keep on moving the needle here. But yeah, man, Stephen Fulton, all or nothing. Let's see the way that ends up turning out for him. That attitude, that energy. Let's see what Bozy is also been working on with him. I got a close eye on Bozy Ennis this year. I want to see the adjustments that his fighters are making coming off their last fights. Let's see what they bring to the table. We saw Andy Cruz the other night putting in that work against Omar Salcido. He looked real laser sharp, but at the same time, he was hesitant, a little bit of PTSD from that last fight. He was still pushing Andy Cruz to engage a lot more, right? Even though Andy Cruz was getting clipped every now and then by Omar Salcido, it did seem like Bozy was kind of pushing Andy Cruz to being more offensive in that fight, or at least a little bit more reactive, taking advantage of a lot more what Bozy would consider opportunities, whereas Andy Cruz was a little bit more concerned about what was coming back at him. Let's see if Stephen Fulton is able to go ahead and weigh that out. If Bozy Ennis is asking him to be overly offensive, if he's able to pull back himself and count on his boxing and take his experience that he had with Brandon Figueroa into this fight to make himself look better than he did in his last fight. We'll see, right? But let's move forward. Obviously, we know Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Angel Fierro is going to be there. They had their face-off. I'm expecting that to be a Mexican shootout. I ain't going to lie to you. That's what I'm expecting. Who wins in a Mexican shootout between Isaac Cruz and Angel Fierro? Well, I ain't going to lie to you. I'm going to lean towards Isaac Pitbull Cruz. I think Angel Fierro is going to be connecting with a lot of shots, even though Isaac has a great high guard. But at the end of the day, Isaac Cruz's high guard and the fact that I'm expecting him to be the bigger puncher in this fight, I think Angel Fierro stylistically is just laid out perfectly for Isaac Cruz to get a stunning victory, an exciting victory that's going to bring a lot of momentum back to him and put him in a position to get involved with a lot more bigger fights in that fight. Jason Rosario and what's my guy's name? Jesus Ramos. We'll see what that fight is, man. I'm not leaning. I'm pretty confident Jesus Ramos is going to do what he's supposed to do in that fight. I think Jason Rosario is pretty much a one-dimensional fighter. He comes forward. He does a lot of pressure, a lot of power coming forward. He's going to serve himself on a silver platter to Jesus Ramos and just get himself clipped early in that fight. Matter of fact, I want to be shocked if I don't see Rosario get put out by either a body shot or maybe even knocked out, but ultimately stopped inside of 6 rounds against Jesus Ramos. That's what I see. You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see what ends up coming out of that fight. Let's talk about and keep moving forward with. I told you guys already. Bozy Ennis pushing the action with the Stephen Fulton fight. I think that's going to be somebody who we need to pay attention to. Let's see that corner work with Bozy Ennis. Let's see what it looks like with Stephen Fulton. I've been watching it, man, guys. You know, I'm not trying to hate on Bozy, man. I'm a big fan of Bozy Ennis. I'm a big fan of Boots, what's coming out of that Philly gym, out that dungeon. So much quality work coming out of there. But you can't lie. In the last year, it does seem like Bozy needs to kind of adjust to some reality. It does seem like he needs to adjust to some reality. The fact that the competition is stepping up, that fighters are fast enough to punch in between those punches, that slipping the shots is always a cool thing, but also not being there is another part that could be part of the actual formula that's missing, right? Slipping the shots is one part of it, but not everybody, you can't slip all the shots. If Boots, as fast and athletic as he is, can't slip all the shots, Andy Cruz is athletic and intelligent in his IQ being there, can't slip all the shots. If Stephen Fulton, as athletic and slick as he is, isn't able to slip the shots, we got to start acknowledging there's an issue here, and hopefully he can catch that before it ends up with one of his fighters getting clipped and put to sleep under his watch, right? So let's hope that that Bozy's able to make those adjustments and his fighters are able to to execute on these game plans. I don't know where I ended up with this one, how I ended up here. But yeah, boom, here we go right here. Jaime Munguia moves the needle, guys. Jaime Munguia in the news recently. If you guys didn't pay attention, out on the Twitterverse and Ring Magazine dropped it, that Jaime Munguia, that Eddie Reynoso, communicated that he's been working with Jaime Munguia, right? That he's been brought on a team. He's been working with Jaime Munguia for a week now, and now has been made a integral part of his whole entire training staff. Big news for Jaime Munguia. Good news, bad news. I think it's good news, man. I think the way Jaime Munguia fights, the pressure he brings, he has a lot of Canelo energy about him. Even when they fought each other, there was a lot of Canelo energy. He's got a lot of heart, and he's fast. He's fluent. He's a decent boxer. He got a good jab. He got good head movement. But he gets hit a little bit. He gets hit a little bit, unfortunately, because he's so offensive. He lets his hands go so freely. He gets hit a little bit. I like the Eddie Reynoso addition to the camp. I think that's going to be a great thing for Jaime Munguia. We got to remember Jaime Munguia coming off that loss with Bruno Sarasi. He's going to get that rematch and get to go ahead and redeem that. But before that was the top guy at 168 outside of Canelo Alvarez in some people's opinion, right? I can tell you, in my opinion, he was definitely top 2, right? He was definitely up there. Caleb Plant is also up there as well. I mean, you got some new guys coming into the picture as far as Diego Pacheco. I'm not all the way sold on Christian Mbili. I think he's a great fighter, but I think his conditioning at times could work against him. All that muscle that he has on him, I think, works against him a little bit. But I mean, he's still a formidable opponent. Could definitely hurt anybody he gets in the ring with. But I don't put him up there as much as I put a Jaime Munguia there and a Caleb Plant. Edgar Berlanga, you're just always up in the air with Edgar, right? Just always up in the air with Edgar. But it does seem like Jaime Munguia needs something additional inside of his camp. Even when he brought in Freddie Roach for that momentary time, he looked good against Canelo Alvarez with Freddie Roach. And I think this trainer he has, I don't remember his name, I think he's kind of one-dimensional a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. A little one-dimensional. It seems like Jaime benefits from the outside eyes and the outside experience coming in there to help him. So I'm liking the Eddie Reynoso situation. I'm hoping that works out for him. I'm a Jaime Munguia fan. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a Jaime Munguia fan. I like what he brings to the table. Let's see what we got going on in here in the chat here. Let's say Fulton is chinny by anyway Brandon Figueroa and Billy is a Terminator. Okay, we got a lot of cool conversations going on there. Cool Boy already got put to sleep. Yeah, most people in here, Benavidez line went from 180 to 230. Respect. Yeah, you see? Now they're trying, a lot of people are taking that Benavidez money. Now they're trying to push everybody towards David Morrell. They're trying to push everybody towards David Morrell, man. 100%, man. That's what they're doing, man. Shout out to Real Prison Talking Tommy with Osley Iglesias. He's definitely up there, man. He still has to earn. I think he's what, like 13-0, 12 knockouts, something like that. Yeah, definitely. He's definitely one of those guys there at 168. He just has to get the right fight to kind of put him on the map. But yeah, I agree with you. The eye test says that he's a great fighter, a Cuban fighter, I think, right? I think he's Cuban. Let's see. Jay Boxer says, you got Morrell. I'm leaning towards Benavidez, Jay. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I am leaning towards Benavidez. I think it's a 60-40 fight at this point. But at the same time, and I'm only doing that because of a few like intangibles. One of them being obviously the experience and the resume of David Benavidez, but also the pressure of the lights. I heard this is a sold out event. I heard it's sold out in Vegas. It's going to be a packed out building. 75 to 90% of the fans in that building are going to be there for David Benavidez. David Morrell is going to have to tune out a lot of noise, and he's going to have to be poised in this fight, and he's going to have to listen to Ronnie Shields. It's going to be hard to do that, to listen and execute what Ronnie Shields is saying with all that noise in the background, all the heckling going on. I don't know how the week has been for him as far as the grand arrivals. How has Vegas been treating David Morrell? Has he isolated him? If I was David Morrell, I would have isolated myself, not be out in the public, do my interviews from my room, whether it's via Zoom or letting people I trust into my hotel room, really tuning out the noise and not listening to what's going on out there and focus on me, my game plan, and my relationship with Ronnie Shields and make sure that's where it's supposed to be. I'm hoping that's what David Morrell has done, and he's not getting caught up in all the festivities and all the noise going on in Vegas. So if he's able to efficiently do that, I give him a good 50-50 chance of winning this fight. But if he allows all that outside noise and activity to consume him, yeah, man, I don't think that's good for him, man. I don't think that's good for him. Let me see here. Clay, who you got, Benavidez or Morrell, so I can take the other one? All right, Denzel, I hear you, bro. Well, I got Benavidez right now, so go with Morrell and make your money, man. 2 cents, that's frequent fact 100. Just because Bozy, not a rah-rah, I don't mean he not giving good game in the corner. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's giving bad game necessarily, but I do think Bozy, every good trainer has to realize the fighter that they have in front of them. And sometimes you got to adjust. Not everybody fights the same. And what you're noticing with Bozy Ennis is that all the fighters are pretty much fighting the same. When you see Andy Cruz fight, you see Boots Ennis in what Andy does. Stephen Fulton's last fight against Carlos Castro, you saw Boots Ennis in there. Well, Stephen Fulton's not Boots. Andy Cruz is not Boots. These guys both coming with, and the thing about it is Bozy's not building these guys from the ground up. He built Boots from the ground up, but you didn't build Andy from the ground up, and you didn't build Stephen Fulton from the ground up. They came in already decorated and with a pedigree about them. So if you're going to train them, I don't know if the focus should be change as much as add to who they are. And is that happening in the gym? Is Stephen Fulton getting things added to what he does naturally? Is Andy Cruz having things being added to him what he does naturally? Or is there a slow transition and change happening where these fighters are fighting in a way that they don't normally fight? Right? It is what it is. Yeah, 2 cents. Fulton did train with Bozy previously. They have a relationship, but ultimately, you know, when he wasn't, I don't know. You might be right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I know they had that relationship for sure. At one point in time, I thought Stephen Fulton was with Bozy Ennis. When I found out he wasn't with him, I was like, damn, that kind of threw me off. But I know Andy came in definitely with his own pedigree. We'll see what it is, man. Time will tell. Definitely not criticism as much as it is an observation. I stand on my square when I tell you guys I'm a big fan of Bozy Ennis. I really am. Like, I genuinely am a fan of Bozy Ennis and a fan of Boots Ennis. No cap in that talk, but I'm noticing some consistencies, and I don't know what happens in the ring will tell the story way better, man. Way better. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm making a big deal out of nothing, and that these fighters are actually just, you know, getting used to each other with as far as the relationship between them and the trainer, and it works out great. We'll see what it is. I understand what you're saying, Clay. You want to see a tailor-made game. Exactly, 2 cents, 100%, brother. That's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you. Maybe I wasn't saying it the right way. Those are the words I'm trying to say. I want to see the fighters' strengths highlighted in what they do in the ring, and I want to see their weaknesses getting stronger. I don't want to see them all of a sudden becoming somebody else. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy. If that's what's happening. If that's what's happening. Time will tell that story a lot better than any of us in the building are going to be able to tell that story. Let's see here. Jay Boxing said the only one is Morrell, because Rigo don't have pop like that. Neither does Cruz. Okay, we're talking about Cuban fighters at this point, I'm assuming. Ray Davis says Fulton has always had the style that's been in the gym with Fulton has always had that style and has been in the gym with Boots and Bozy. So Bozy had got his feet wet already. Okay. Yeah, Stephen Fulton has always been in the gym with Boots Ennis for sure, man. Always been in the gym with those guys. But I just feel like he's fought differently than how he's fighting now. Morrell camp looking sharp. Is it? I haven't seen the camp, man. I think that Jay Boxing, I don't know, maybe you have some inside information on what's going on over there. They seem to be well isolated and insulated on what they've been doing in the gym. Everything's been real light. It's hard to kind of like gauge what I'm seeing. But I know Ronnie Shields ain't nothing to play with, and I know his camps ain't nothing less of intense. So I'm sure David Morrell is looking sharp and being ready. And Ronnie Shields looks very confident in that as well. Shout out to D1 Angry. Wild out. Love this sport just as much as any one of us in the building here. What he said, bro, every great trainer, you can see their style in every one of their fighters. Look at Bomac. Salute Clay in the chat. You right. Angry man, you're 100% right. You look at Bomac, for example, you look at Terrence Crawford and Keyshawn Davis, you see Bomac, right? You see Bomac. You might not realize it's Bomac. At first, you're going to say, I see Terrence. But then you have to acknowledge that Bomac, you know what I'm saying, is the one who created Terrence, right? From the ground up, he built Terrence Crawford to who he is today. So once you start seeing Keyshawn Davis, and all of a sudden, what do you hear people saying? I see some Terrence Crawford in there. He looked like a little Terrence Crawford. What you're hearing is you're seeing Bomac. I agree with you. What you're hearing is you seeing Bomac, right? That's what you're seeing. You see what looks like it's Terrence Crawford, but what you're seeing is Bomac. And in the same thing with Bozy Ennis, as he's training these fighters, you're seeing Boots, right? But you're not seeing Boots. You're actually seeing Bozy because Bozy created Boots. 100%, man. 100%. Salute to that, man. Good observation. I think that was the word I was looking for, by the way, when I was earlier in the conversation. I think observation was the word I was looking for. Big Supreme says he got Morrell with the TKO. I ain't gonna be mad at you, man. Say it as well. Jay Boxing up in here say, Clay, if you think about it, every trainer has a weakness. DJ fighters, I don't know what DJ is that. What's DJ fighters, man? Fighters don't know how to fight in the back foot. And in David Benavidez camp, all of them fighters don't have footwork, man. And you know what, Jay? I forgot to bring that up. I'm talking about these trainers, but Jose Benavidez Sr. I spoke about him. When you see the way now with Diego Pacheco, you see Diego making adjustments in that fight with Steve Nelson a little bit, right? You saw him realize that jab wasn't there, that Steve was able to kind of neutralize the jab. And then what did you see him doing? Using his footwork a little bit more and walking Steve Nelson, allowing Steve Nelson to come in a little bit and bringing him into these uppercuts and these short hooks and working that body, but really those uppercuts. You saw him make that adjustment. You saw him acknowledge that wasn't working. And you want to give Jose Benavidez Sr. the credit in that strategy, in that game plan that he did. So he showed that. But at the same time, he's unique and brings what he brings as a young fighter to the table. Outside of that, when you think about Jose Benavidez Jr., I didn't see that with him. When he fought against Terrence Crawford and he had to end up getting put on his back foot, he didn't seem very successful in what he was able to do. His front walking forward seemed to be his biggest weapon that he had. And with David Benavidez, you see the same thing. So I question as well. I'll be looking in the corner to hear that corner work and see what Senior is telling David Benavidez if he does run into a situation with David Morrell. When it's time to make that adjustment, let's see what Senior has to tell David Benavidez and what direction he moves him in. But I like that. Good observation, man, for sure, man. For sure. Let's see here, because Eddie Reynoso fighters look the same way, like that left hook and the right uppercut, 100%. And as far as Jaime McGee is concerned, he kind of fits into the Eddie Reynoso program. The way he fights kind of works for him. That's why I like that relationship that's being made between the both of them. I'll tell you what, though, I'm very interested in seeing how Eddie Reynoso and Teofimo Lopez works out, because Teofimo doesn't necessarily have that style all the way. He has it, but not all the way. If he's going to start sitting on his punches and being a little bit more flat-footed, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for Teofimo. I don't know, maybe. That's going to be an interesting combination. We're going to see how that ends up working out, Teofimo and Eddie Reynoso. Let's see. 2 Cents said, I saw the video pop up, but didn't watch it. I'm going to have to peep it. Okay, I don't know. He must be talking to somebody else. It is what it is. You know what I'm going to do, at this point, though? I am going to go ahead and put the link out there. For people to hop up here. I think I pretty much covered all my points that I was trying to cover here. There's the link. If anybody wants to step up and build with the kid, salute to everybody who's in the building right now. Speak on any of the topics. It is what it is. I think, and when you come up here, you know what? Let me know who you think is going to win between David Morrell, David Benavidez. I'm interested in seeing what you guys think about that. And also, let's talk a little bit about what's going on there with Stephen Fulton and Bozy Ennis. I'm interested in the opinions on that. Am I making too much of really keeping an eye on some of these trainers, Bozy Ennis in this case, and even Jose Benavidez Sr.? Should we be putting more of the weight on the back of these fighters, no matter what the trainers do? You know, it's the fighters who are in the ring, or are these trainers actually playing a bigger role in these fights than a lot of people are acknowledging? Let's see here. What did it say here? I saw somebody acknowledge me trying to say something. Let me see here. Jay Boxing. What's your picks, Clay, for the whole card? I told you guys, so I'm leaning towards David Benavidez with his David Morrell fight right now. That's where I'm at with it. Brandon Figueroa is who I'm leaning towards on the Stephen Fulton fight. I think Isaac Pitbull Cruz, tailor-made to knock out Angel Fierro with the way he fights coming forward. I've got Jesus Ramos probably stopping Jason Rosario inside the first 6 rounds. I think in the first half of that fight, he takes advantage of him. I think Jesus Ramos comes in to make a statement. He realizes that he allowed that fight to run away from him when he fought Erickson Lubin. He knows he should have won that fight, not only based off of whether he thought he won it by the end based off the rounds, the Oscar De La Hoya Tito Trinidad thing, right? When Oscar De La Hoya kind of took his foot off the gas. I think that he changes that and he comes a lot more aggressive with a lot more pressure. And ultimately we end up seeing Jason Rosario suffering the consequences of being at the wrong place at the wrong time, being in front of a young Jesus Ramos with a chip on his shoulder. I think could be a very dangerous thing for Rosario. And I think Rosario is going to be right there for him to get clipped because he's so damn aggressive. Who else is fighting on that card? And we got, I think Jose Benavidez Jr. is fighting on that card as well. I don't know he's fighting, but I think he's making his return on that card as well. Salute to Coach Eddie. How you doing, Coach?
What's going on, Claymore? First in the building. Salute to you, brother.
Salute to you, family. Salute to you. What's on your mind, man?
Yo, man, I want to chime in about what you were saying with the trainers, man. I want to say that the cat is out the bag. All these guys, most of these guys, they train alike, man. And that's why you're seeing a lot of our African-American fighters getting beat more than we used to seeing. Because like I say, I'm not making this a tribal thing. I'm just making an observation. Yeah, back when I was, fighting and guys I grew up watching and the guys that I, watched film on and things like that, those guys had a different cadence and a different rhythm. And they were more coming off the back of the Ali era, where the guys were much more up on their toes, moving around, firing the jab off, throwing combination punches, starting the attack. And they punched a lot harder because these guys are hitting these punch mitts so much and they're not following through. They're not punching through the target because the trainer is meeting them halfway. And that's why these guys lack punching power right now. That's why they all fight the same with their foot nailed to the ground, trying to shoulder roll, trying to slip everything. What happened? You slip into punches. If you slip the wrong way, you're going to get caught. You're going to get clocked. And there's no veracity right there. So I think that's what it is, man. And the bag is out, and also with the internet, coaches are now able to see what everybody's doing. They're able to mimic other trainers. They're able, like Canelo Alvarez, he was able to mimic, thing that Floyd Mayweather did through film and study. You can see the influence. You call in sparring partners. Most of Canelo's sparring partners were African American or Cubans or black guys of black descent. That's how he learned a lot of his things. A couple of my buddies went to camp with Canelo. They say that he sparred with nothing but black guys. So that's how he was able to implement that style with him. He was back. The best Canelo was at 160. That's the best Canelo right there. He had the head movement, he had the foot movement, he could slip punches, he could dip, he can dodge. He looked like he just went and watched every Floyd Mayweather fight he could possibly get his hands on and duplicated everything that he did and put it into his style. And hats off to him. If you want to be good, you got to watch the best. You know what I'm saying? So 100%. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, but these guys, they got to get up on their game because I say the cat's out the bag, man. Yeah, they're the flashy pad work. Yeah, it looks good. Throw 1,000 punches, but you don't fight like that. Your feet are nailed to the ground. You don't fight like that. It's static. You're fighting, it's movement, it's flowing, and it's fluid, and that's what's happening.
So, do you think are you believing? I mean, it sounds like you basically co-sign the idea that these fighters are being the way they're showing up in that ring, that the trainers do make a big difference, and that's why they're starting to look a lot generic, almost, right? Almost like filling in a template, almost on what the what to expect. They've gotten a lot less versatile over the years because they're all kind of following the same code or the same game plan or strategy or approach to training.
Yes, sir, 100%. I mean, you think about all the guys that we grew up watching, all those guys, just like the music, all those guys had their own styles. Ray Leonard fought different than Tommy Hearns. Tommy Hearns fought different than Marvin Hagler. John the Beast Mugabe fought different. Roberto Duran fought different. Same thing in the heavyweight division. Lennox Lewis fought a certain way. Evander Holyfield fought a certain way. Tyson fought a certain way. Everybody fought different. Everybody's now. I'm gonna tell you another instance too. You can take Big Baby Anderson, right? Jared Anderson. The reason why he got knocked out because he trained with Shakur Stevenson. Right. That's why. You're 240 pounds. You don't have no business taking pointers from this guy.
Yep.
You need to go find you a heavyweight coach, somebody that knows what they're doing. Like anybody out of that Emmanuel Stewart camp. You had a Jonathan Banks. That's who you should have been with. Somebody like that.
Hill. Right. Or
Sugar Hill. Somebody that trains. Heavyweight boxing is a total different beast than you trying to sit there and look cute like Shakur Stevenson. He's training with Shakur Stevenson. That's the worst thing he could have ever did is train with him.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. I always said, I'm gonna be real with you, and I know people. This was around the time, and even right now, people are really American boxer American boxer fans, and I understand the training, but I always felt like Jared Anderson should have took a trip to the UK. You know what I'm saying? And worked out there, man. Got sparring sessions out there. Trained with Sugar Hill, followed Sugar Hill around. He needed a heavyweight program. You know what I mean? Somewhere that had a program for heavyweights, not just what's the word they say? Like a template, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sticking you into my program. No, you need a program built around you. You're a heavyweight athletic fighter. You can't be on the same program as Keyshawn and Shakur, and it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Megatroy, any of them dudes. Like, this is not making any sense. I need you to be around some big dudes, and I need you around some trainers that's training these big guys to be champions. We'll see if he moves forward. I know he kind of like threw shot. I don't want to say he threw shots at Sugar Hill, but he did kind of make it clear that Sugar Hill Martin Bacoli situation was a one-off before the fight in that press conference. So I thought that was working against him, that he even thought about anything outside of what him and Sugar Hill was working on. And if what Sugar Hill's working on with you is working, then why would you even think of moving on to another fighter? Respect, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, bro. I was just letting y'all get y'all stuff off.
Okay, I didn't know if you were still there.
When people are talking.
No, I didn't know if you were still there because I saw you had disappeared. So I kind of was like waiting for you to come back, but I realized that maybe
I'm here, bro. Man, appreciate you having me on the show. I'm good, bro. I got Benavidez. Obviously, I told you I put the $1,800 bet in. My thing is just experience, bro. I just feel, Benavidez has actually been in the ring with quality fighters. Morrell, I'm not knocking the lack of fights because, we had that same thing with Madrimov and Crawford. but obviously he does have a background. But I just feel experienced, and I also feel that high volume output that Benavidez should be bringing is just going to eventually start to wear him down, bro. That's just my take on it. For
No,
me
I
to go and
respect it.
trust 1800, bro, I just feel I'm like, bro, at some point in time, I don't think he has anyone in his camp that's going to emulate the output that Benavidez has. Now, granted, I don't think Benavidez had that same output at 175 that he did at 168, but it was also his first fight. So
Right.
I
And
expect
he
that
had
to
some
change.
injuries.
Yeah, and he had some injuries too. So I expect that to change for this next one. That's just my 2 cents on it though. So I hope I'm right. Shit.
Yo, listen, man. I hope you're right too for you, man, because I know you put some money on. Let me ask you this question though.
Yeah.
Did you walk away with anything from that media workout? Like seeing that?
I
Was there any
haven't seen it
boxes?
yet. I saw
Okay.
it was a guy, 2 cents or something in the chat. He was talking
Mm.
about it. He said that Benavidez looked real sharp. So I'm hoping he was right.
Yeah, he looked sharp and he was slim.
Yeah. But
Which
I
I
got a
thought
little
was
nervous with
interesting.
you telling me my man was having like stumbling problems. That had me like, wait, what?
Well, he was coming down the steps, right? It was something light, and I didn't want to. That's why I said I wasn't going to even say nothing. But I'm that type of dude. When I watch these media workouts, I watch you from every. I don't just watch you inside the ring. I watch every little thing. And he was
Yeah.
coming down the steps, and he had this moment where, like, his knees should have bent. In my opinion, that would have avoided that.
Oh,
And he
okay.
seemed like he was kind of stiff legged. And I'm
Uh,
just like, Benavidez has always looked like the type of dude who hasn't been that agile, right?
yeah.
So for me, it was like clumsy feet, right? It's like you
Mhm.
kind of have clumsy feet. I'm wondering what that's going to look like with David Morrell in the ring, because David Morrell's athletic and he has great footwork. He knows how to he knows how to step out of trouble. He's going to make David Benavidez turn. He's going to
All
force
right.
him to do that.
Dude, is there any has there been any like word on what the ring size will be? Because I know Caleb Plant chose like this ridiculous ring size,
Right.
and I don't know if that's going to be the case this time with like a super huge ring. But eventually, because even the first couple rounds, bro, he was having trouble with Plant, and it was like, damn, man, Benavidez might have trouble. And eventually, he wore him down. Like he got to him.
Right.
So I don't mean how long can he like really just move around for before Benavidez says, all right, I know what to do now. Like
Right. I
how
agree.
much can he do it for?
Let me ask you this though.
Mhm.
Caleb Plant was a great example that you're bringing up, right? On how Caleb was looking. He had a lot of success early in that fight. And really, a lot of people feel like, just like against Canelo Alvarez, he blew his load a little bit early in the fight. And just
Mhm.
really his conditioning ended up, failing him in those championship rounds. Um, David Morrell brings some of those physical attributes that Caleb just didn't bring, right? First of all, he
Mhm.
brought power. What does
Power
Caleb
for
Plant?
sure.
Right? What does Caleb Plant look like in that fight with David Benavidez if he has the power of a David Morrell? Because he was finding success. He was connecting with a lot of shots. He just couldn't hurt David Benavidez. He couldn't discourage him, right? He couldn't
Mhm.
discourage him in the fight. So what does Caleb look with a longer arm reach that David Morrell brings to the ring? What does he
Mhm.
look like with the power and the arm reach? Is that fight a different fight at that point? David Benavidez able to, what people would consider, get away with being the bigger guy, speaking towards what Canelo said. And Canelo, he's going to talk his ish, but he said it. He said, the only thing David Benavidez brings to me is 25 pounds, right? That's what he said. He said that. And I thought that was significant, because what he's saying is he's just a really big guy.
Mhm.
But if he's not the bigger guy, is what he brings to the table going to work as efficiently as it is when he's the big guy walking down Boo Boo and just wearing him out, walking down Caleb and just wearing him out? Is he going to walk down David Morrell, who's probably going to be the bigger guy in the ring? I'm be honest with you. Is he going to
Mhm.
just walk him down and walk through everything David Morrell's throwing at him? Because he walked through what
Yeah.
Caleb was throwing at him. He didn't dodge it. He didn't move out the
Yeah,
way.
he was walking through it. But I also, man, I was listening to Andrade when he was saying, he was just like, bro, when you're in the ring with David Benavidez, he's a lot bigger than like even how he just looks on cam. It's like, bro, I'm throwing punches at him, and I just felt like I was not like
Right.
getting anything. Another thing too, though, Clay, even if we give Morrell all those attributes that you just named, he still will not have the experience. Caleb
Mm,
Plant was in the ring with a Canelo. He was in the ring with a Durrell. Like he didn't, you know what I'm saying? We don't have that on Morrell's resume. Like we don't
right.
have that. So even with those attributes, he still doesn't have the experience. Benavidez has already been knocked down. He's been in there with champions. So I mean, that experience is that's what I'm banking on, bro. I'm banking on the experience. On top of that, obviously, Morrell goes the round in sparring, but for the most part, Morrell's outside of his last fight. Most of his fights are short. They're done.
You're right. You're right. That's one. You're 100% right. He's not in there as long. He's not putting in 12 rounds and, you know what I'm saying, and getting that experience. He's not being, the adversity hasn't really been there for David Morrell. And listen, I agree. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate to a degree because I like to do that. I like to just give everybody, like, you know, even with the Lamont Roach and Tank Davis fight, I had a show where everybody was like, you crazy? I was trying to paint like a picture for Lamont Roach. Like, yo, what about if Lamont Roach is able to do this? He brings, and, you know, people just destroying me on that one. I really can't. Lamont, good luck. You know what I mean? I tried. I'm not going to say I played that game for too long. I did what I could with you. But this fight right here, playing devil's advocate, just saying that the power and the athleticism and then the physical attributes that David Morrell brings to the ring are the positive things that work for him, right? This is what we want to see. We want to see if David Benavidez, for me, the question that's going to float over this is 25 pounds, right? That's what's going to float over this fight. This is the questions are going to get answered. When Canelo said, all you bring to the ring is 25 pounds, how accurate was Canelo when he said that? Because in this fight, those 25 pounds aren't there. Respect.
They're not.
They're not there. It's going to be a real mano-a-mano, skill set versus skill set. You know what I mean? Fight.
Let me ask you a question, Clay. Not to cut you off if you wasn't finished.
Sure.
With the trash talking, right? With Benavidez and Morrell not liking each other, do you feel Morrell is going to let pride get in the way and say, you know what, I'm not going to box. I'm going to trade with you to show you that I'm not scared of you?
I love that question, man. I feel like Ronnie Shields is building up a strategy, right? It's going to be a well thought out plan. The question is David Morrell going to be confident enough? Is he going to, and I always say this, man, fighters buying into the process, right? And I'll give you an example of a fighter who bought into the process and it worked out for him. Rayo Venezuela, when he fought against Isaac Pitbull Cruz, right?
For sure.
He bought into the game plan, right?
Yeah.
He had moments where he was frustrated where Isaac was but he stuck. He stuck with it no matter what, and it ended up getting him a victory. That's why our whole boy fell to his knees and was crying at Robert Garcia like, it worked. And Rob was like, I told you, you mother, I told you, you know what I'm saying? Didn't I? So does David Morrell buy into this process that Ronnie Shields has in front of him? I can't believe that the game plan is to just be over aggressive with David Benavidez. There should be respect in the game plan. In other words, we're going to respect who David Benavidez is. We're not going to buy into what Canelo said. It's not just 25 pounds. This guy's really him. He's really him. He's really like that. The game plan isn't going to be that. But look, like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a game plan. Everybody got a game plan. I know you'll be back. I'm sure you got a phone call, something like that. But everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the face. Everybody has one. Has David Morrell been punched in his face yet? And do we know how he's going to react after he gets punched in his face? Is he going to stick to the game plan, or is he going to move over into his own world and end up getting into a crazy mid-range melee with David Benavidez? I think that'll be the biggest mistake he can make, getting into a fight with David Benavidez. What do you think, Coach?
Everything both you guys make valid points. What I'm looking at in this fight is that the fact that, first of all, the size, the pedigree, and everybody keep talking about can Morrell take David power. We forget David is the puncher in this fight. It's not. I mean, I'm sorry. Most of them say, I'm sorry. Morrell is the puncher in this fight. It ain't David. It ain't Benavidez. Morrell's the puncher. We keep forgetting that he's the one punch guy. He's the guy who can set you down with one punch. It's really not Morrell. I mean, I'm sorry, Benavidez. I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah.
Benavidez is an accumulation puncher. Beat you up, break you down. If you remember Lanny Laura, Rigondeaux, those guys were marksmen. They were very good at lulling you to sleep and then boom, hit you with one shot and you're on the canvas.
Right.
People forget Laura was great at doing that. Rigondeaux was great at doing that.
Right.
I think what happened if once Morrell, I'm picking Morrell to win this fight, just for the record. If Morrell dictates the range, maintains the distance, what's going to happen, in my opinion, I think David Benavidez is going to get impatient. He's going to run into something. He's going to get clipped. And now, as a boxer, when you feel that power, two things are going to happen. You're going to say, dang, that hurt. I don't think I can take too many of them. I don't think I can take too many more of those right there. So you're going to adjust your game plan based on what you just felt. Right. You know what I'm saying? If Morrell goes in there, he really gets his respect. He's going to get David Benavidez is going to get outboxed thoroughly. It's going to be outboxed. You know what I'm saying? As far as the exchanges or whatever, that could be 50-50 for either guy. Because, like I say, David comes in, he starts throwing those fast punches and stuff like that, and he gets clipped. He can get hurt also. So I'm leaning towards Morrell. I mean, he's reminding me of what Muhammad Ali said about George Foreman when he nicknamed him the Mummy. He's the Mummy. He's doing the same thing. This RoboCop. And I said, oh dang, he's on his Ali right here. He's a RoboCop. This dude can't beat me, man. And I really think, I mean, we've seen flashes of that with Andrade, and a lot of people know they want to discredit Andrade, but a lot of times one punch could change the outcome. It's a punch sequence in that fourth round when Andrade spun David Benavidez around and just missed him. If Andrade would have hit him with that punch, he would have knocked David out because that punch had that much steam on it. Because he spun around and he threw this crazy overhand left or whatever, and it just missed David by like an inch or two. If that hits him on the temple, we got a different story here. We're talking about something different now. Because we like to make these guys indestructible. They're not. They're human beings. You hit a man on the temple, he's going to get dizzy. You hit him on the chin, he may fall down. Yeah, and that's what people got to realize. It seems like the boxing fans are the ones who don't know that, but the boxers know that. Tank Davis knows it. I get hit on the temple, I'm going to get dizzy. You know why? Because he's been dizzy before. He's been down before. He's been knocked down before. We make these guys into these superhuman fighters. Not talking about you and me, but just, the casual. Right. They make these guys like they're not indestructible. I mean, I've seen everybody fall. Who hasn't failed? That's more of a question. Who has not been knocked down?
No, I love it. That's a great observation, man. And that's real. That's a real situation. But kind of going back to what you said about David Morrell being the power puncher in this fight. I think David Benavidez has always considered himself in his fights at 168. Or would you disagree that David Benavidez considered himself and at the boxing space considered him a power puncher? Yes or no? Like, how do you feel about that at 168?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Right. So you think David Benavidez do you think David Benavidez looks at David Morrell as the power puncher in this fight? And if he doesn't look at him that way, is that going to be part of his downfall?
100%. David, it seemed like his emotional. I'm sorry, I got to say Benavidez because both of these guys are named David. Benavidez, let me get that David out of my mouth. No Diddy. Yeah. Sure. Benavidez, that could be his undoing because I think he may be possibly thinking he's going to steamroll this guy like he's done, pretty much done everybody else and really had his way. And you really go back and look, I mean, his calling card has been just his size. Just the same thing I said about Tyson Fury, not to get off subject, but I said you shrink Tyson Fury down to 6'2", 6'3", he's not a champion.
Right.
It is what it is. He was good because he was big. 6'7", 6'8", I mean that's it. I mean, he's a good fighter, but you shrink him down 6'2", 6'3", he's nothing. I ain't saying nothing, but he's nowhere near where he is right now.
Yeah, so definitely his size was something he brought to the ring that people didn't acknowledge. That the height and the size of how big he was with his agility for his size, but how big he was is something that we can't denounce, we can't discount and act like no, it's just skills. Yeah, he has some skills, but no, he's not 6'9". Is it the same? Same energy? I don't know. So that being said, though. Canelo Alvarez says 25 pounds is all you bring to the ring to me that night. Does that hold weight? Was that Canelo just throwing a low blow at David Benavidez, or is that real? And does that get exposed Saturday night against David Morrell?
I think that's Canelo throwing shade and hoping that something happens to David Benavidez. That way he can say, aha, I told you so. Like Canelo, as much as he hates Andrade, he was the biggest Andrade fan that night when they were fighting. He was hoping that Andrade got rid of this guy Because that way, hey, I don't have to fight Andrade because he's a horrible fighter.
Right.
And you see what a horrible fighter did to David Benavidez, so I'm off the hook free and clear. Let's don't mention David Benavidez anymore.
Right.
So I think it's throwing shade.
Yeah. So you think David Benavidez is more than 25 pounds, is what you're saying. He's a lot more than 25 pounds. He's actually that skilled. It's a skill thing about David Benavidez. Or is it 25? You know, I don't know. Those questions will get answered better on Saturday night. But I do think it's an interesting point of perspective, because at the end of the day, he doesn't have that 25-pound Saturday night. That's not going to work. He's not going to. And I think a lot of people have to take that into consideration when they're talking about him steamrolling David Morrell or overwhelming him, or, you know what I'm saying, just coming forward and not David Morrell not being able to deal with it. That was a 25 pounds. That was what Canelo Alvarez was talking about. You feel what I'm saying? He's talking about that. He's saying David's going to try to overwhelm me with his size. He's going to bring that weight. He's going to lean on me. He's going to punch down on me. That's what he plans on doing with me. He can't do that to David Morrell. And if he is able to do that with David Morrell, we're going to have to give him all the props in the world for being able to do that, right? But at the end of the day, he's going to have to outbox. He's potentially going to get in a situation to where he's going to have to outbox David Morrell. And I think the question is going to get answered better. And I shoot this question out to everybody in the building and whoever watches this on the replay: is David Benavidez a better boxer than David Morrell?
Yeah, I don't believe so. I think David's a good fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I think David's more of a fighter than he is a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that he can't box,
right?
But you put him at long range, he's a different animal. Because he relies on getting very close to you. He relies on putting you in the ropes, and that's where he builds at. That's where he starts his combinations at. That's his wheelhouse, that mid range. Because for a guy to have long arms, has very fast hands in mid range. I have to give him credit for that. But there is opportunities there because he punches with both hands down. So if you're able to weather that storm and able to shoot something up top, you should be able to catch him.
It's going to be.
But he was always punching down on guys, so they weren't able to take advantage of that because they were covering up and then trying to punch up. That's difficult. You're doing it with a guy that's right in front of you, and not only that, David Morrell has a very long arm reach, 78 inches, and that's a long arm reach, and he a southpaw. That's another thing. So I think David Benavidez got his work cut out for him. I just don't want nobody to discredit him if he loses, because they'll say, "Oh, he was this, he was that." I don't want people to do that because it is boxing, but one punch can change the outcome.
No, 100%, 100%. People will, though. We know that, Coach. So we can hope all we want. The hardcore fanatics will be impressed with the fight. Will be grateful for the fight, and know that fight couldn't have been made without David Benavidez putting it on the line. But the casuals will throw shots immediately, and the Canelo fans will be like, 25 pounds. I told you that's all it was, right? But yeah, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Both guys are great fighters. I want to go ahead and move the needle a little bit, or move the goal a little bit, and head into this Stephen Fulton and Brandon Figueroa fight. I think that's a fight that's interesting in multiple ways. I talked about it as far as Stephen Fulton recovering from the Monster Inoue fight, the version of Stephen Fulton that we have now in comparison to the guy that was there before he went into the ring with Monster, and also Brandon Figueroa and his trajectory and the momentum he's got coming behind him, being at this point, he is a WBC champion. He's been elevated to that, being that Ray Vargas has gone into recess. But Stephen Fulton, Brandon Figueroa, let's keep it simple. Going into that fight, what do you like? What do you see going into that fight? What do you think about it?
Well, I'm pulling for Cool Boy. You know what I'm saying? I keep it 100, man. But my heart's with Cool Boy, but my mind is telling me Figueroa. Yeah, because simply, I think that kid been sitting on that revenge for a long time. He felt like he won the first fight, and he's really when the guy's been waiting that long to get some get back, man, you better expect a fight, man, because this is like his dream come true to finally prove that he won that. That first fight was a fluke, or like I say, he felt like he won. And it's like I say, as far as Steve, Cool Boy, he's been showing some vulnerabilities lately. Like I said, you tapped on it earlier. You was talking about training with Bozy. he's trying to be a more offensive fighter, but he doesn't have the punching power to go with that style. But then also Figueroa was not only able to draw him into that fight, he made Steven fight like that because Steven couldn't keep him off of him. He didn't have enough power to keep Figueroa honest. He said, "You can't punch. I'm coming forward." You know what I'm saying? And Steve had to fight all night long. And now him just basically getting destroyed by Monster Inoue, is that going to play a part in his mind? Could he possibly get in a place where he has flashbacks when he get hit with a good shot and it takes him back to Japan? He's like, "Oh crap, I felt this before. I don't like this feeling." So I'm gonna go with Brandon. I'm gonna go with Figueroa for this fight. My heart's with Steve, but my mind, if I had to put money on, I'm gonna go with Figueroa.
Man, I mean, and I co-sign and definitely empathize with what you said in the beginning of this take, which was that your heart is with, you know what I'm saying, Steven Espinoza, but your mind can't help but have you looking at Brandon Figueroa a little bit closer in this fight. Stephen Fulton has definitely he was definitely one of those guys. Like I call him a pound for pound prospect. Right, he was like, you were looking for him to accomplish so much in the space, but a lot of people throw fault at him, saying that he shouldn't have went to Japan. He shouldn't have, a lot of things that he had to kind of deal with, with the politics of fighting over in Japan, for him to go over there and take that loss. It does look like it kind of set him back a little bit. It seemed like that stoppage was it a bad idea for Stephen Fulton to take a year and some change off after that stoppage by Monster Inoue? Would he have benefited to come back, let's say in 6 months or so, and just been more active and kind of like shook off what happened in that fight? Or is that just normal for a fighter to get stopped like that and take a year and some change off and then come back?
I think that's long, man. I think that's a long time. I mean, for the simple fact, man, Anthony Joshua got beat from pillar to post by Andy Ruiz, and he came back in 6 months. I think you wait that long, it gives too much time to play them head games, man. Not only that, you're getting out of shape, you're mentally getting out of shape, and you're getting softer. You know what I'm saying? You're getting more civilized. You got to stay boxing. You got to stay in the fire, man. You get out of that fire, you become civilized. You get to thinking more. Just like Rocky 3. Especially you get hurt a couple times. Dang, I could have got killed. All these different thoughts come through your mind, man. Or maybe after the fight, you feeling some of the residuals. Maybe 2 or 3 months down the road, you still feeling like you hadn't got your balance back, or you're still getting headaches and all this stuff. So all that plays on a fighter's mind. That's the thing that a lot of casual fans don't understand about boxing. There is an aftermath. After the fight is over, it's over for you, but it's not over for the fighter. The fighter has to heal up. He got injuries. He's busted up. He's getting stitched up. He's having headaches. He's having balance problems. The equilibrium's thrown off. All those things come with the game, man. So it could be the issue where Steven is feeling like he needed that time off because he physically may not have been right, man. I'm just going to keep it 100. For you to take that long of a time off, physically, you're probably not right. Just like Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence physically is not right. I think his equilibrium is thrown off. For him to be out that long, think about it.
No, you're right, man. I agree with you. I think like these timeouts that sometimes these fighters take, even with the Devin Haney situation, I go into it and I say, man, I don't know what to expect from him, but I like the Jose Ramirez fight. I think that's the kind of fight he needs to take. He does need to tune up. I give him respect for acknowledging that, or for Turkey for acknowledging that. Like, don't just throw him back in there with a Ryan Garcia or throw him in front of a Teofimo Lopez, or, you know what I mean? Throw him in there, let him get his legs back under him. He's been out of the game for a minute off of a huge knockout. And he hasn't, we don't know, his structure, if it's completely there, mentally, equilibrium wise, like you said, if it's completely there. And I think bringing it back full circle to Stephen Fulton, that's definitely something to take in consideration. As far as his relationship with Bozy Ennis, as far as his last performance against Carlos Castro, the last fight he had, I believe that was on the Canelo Berlango card. When he was, I think that was a Canelo Berlango card, right? But regardless, that performance, the new trainer change made with bringing Bozy in there as a head trainer. How are you liking? What is your opinion or perspective on how that's turning out for him? Is that working out for him? Is that a good thing so far? Or, could this be working against him as well going into this fight?
I think Bozy was asking his fighter to do something that he wasn't capable of. And that's a bad place to be as a trainer and a fighter. because you're trying to do something as a fighter. You're trying to satisfy your trainer, but you simply can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not saying there's no shade on him. That's just not his makeup. That's not his wheelhouse to be that type of fighter. You know, and right now I think Steven's kind of stuck in a limbo right now, where he's kind of in between styles. Yeah, he wants to be a power puncher for some reason, but he just don't have it. And you know, you're trying to follow the instruction of your corner, and then it's a bad place to be because if you're not following the instruction of the corner, then the corner's coming back. You know, they're either giving you positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement, or they're saying you ain't doing this or you ain't doing that. So naturally, you're gonna go out there and try to do it, even if you can't do it. You're still gonna try because you don't want to hear it when you come back to the corner. You know what I'm saying? So. Bosey's a good trainer. You know, I think Bosey may be like Roy Jones, maybe trying to make everybody fight like him. And you have to know what's in front of you. You know, you have to know what type of fighter you had. For instance, I had fighters who can punch. I had fighters who couldn't punch. So if my guy couldn't punch, we're going to be some great boxers. We're going to be some master boxers. And the guy that can punch, we're going to go out there and we're going to get him. You know what I'm saying? It's simple as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that, man. I'm hoping to see. I'm listen, man. The beginning of last year, I had Bozy Ennis in Trainer of the Year candidate. Early in the year, of course, I had him, Robert Garcia, Bomac. I had these guys. I was keeping an eye on all these guys because I was already trying to see who I was going to go with Trainer of the Year when it came to the end of the year. And he was definitely one of those guys I was looking to show up. I thought a very active Boots with making that transition over with Eddie Hearns and him bringing Andy Cruz into the camp, and I saw Andy Cruz all of a sudden sitting on his punches and looking good in my opinion, or what I would say translating from the amateur Olympian pedigree into the pro box pedigree. I liked what I saw in the beginning, but then I started noticing that even with Andy Cruz getting clipped by Antonio Moran in that last fight, obviously we watched Stephen Fulton in his last fight get sit on his actual pockets and get buckled a couple times. And then, obviously Boots right now on the top of the world right now, but for the wrong reasons, right? On the back ends of victories, of course, because sometimes you would think that Boots lost the way they talk about him. But on the back end of some victories, still getting hit a lot and people starting to criticize Boots. But you're noticing there's a consistency in between his fighters. They're sitting in the pocket a lot. They're getting hit a lot more than you think they should be getting hit. And I'm wondering if Bozy's able to adjust. Is he adjusting in the training, in the program, whatever he's got these fighters going through? Is he adjusting for what he's seeing here? Or is he just walking away with victories and saying, damn what everybody is observing and seeing? We're winning. Why would I change my game plan? We haven't lost yet. What do you think about that as far as the adjustments? Are there adjustments visually that Bozy should be making with his fighters, or are we making too much of it? And at the end of the day, we should just be celebrating these victories and giving Bozy his credit for what he's doing with these fighters.
No, I 100% agree with you, man. You can even see the frustration in Boots is that he's trying to follow his father's instructions, but they're not working. And he's trying to implement it. So that's a frustrating place to be as a fighter. You're telling me to do something, and every time I do what you tell me to do, I get hit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so eventually you can be like, man, I'm not listening to this guy because he's giving me bad instructions. I'm trying to satisfy you, and I'm getting hit with all these shots that I normally don't get hit with. So, like I say, Bozy's a good trainer. I'm taking that. I can't take that away from him, but he has to make an adjustment. You can't just have that cookie cutter attitude where we're just going to continue. Yeah, we're just going to continue to keep doing what we're doing. If it ain't working, just keep doing what we're doing, but do it harder or do it faster. No, let's change. Just because you do something, doing the same game plan harder or faster, don't mean it's going to work. And you got to say, you can see the frustration, the body language. I mean, it's like Bozy was almost berating Boots when he came back to the corner. Man, come on, man, get this guy out here. Get this guy out here, man. You're like, man, you think I ain't trying to get this guy out of here?
Right.
What do you think I'm doing? You think I'm in here just, you think I'm in here just carrying this guy? You know what I'm saying? So, that's playing in, that's all plays on a fighter's psyche. I'm trying to get this guy here. He just won't go nowhere. I can't catch him, or he's too slippery, or every time I try something, I overcommit and I get hit. So at some point in time, you have to take a step back. Okay, look, we're just going to go back to the drawing board and we're going to implement a few more things because, like I say, the gig is up, man. People know how to beat these. People know how to beat these American fighters, man. And you beat them with basics. You beat them with punching power. Basic punching power and great defense, and punching between those shots. You're going to catch them. You're going to beat a lot of them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I think there's some adjustments that need to be made. I love the cookie cutter. I think I was looking for that word the whole entire show. I was saying templates and fill in, but cookie cutter was the word I was looking for. That's what it looks like with Bozy, what he's got going on with his team. It looks like there's some cookie cutting things going on over there that I don't know if it's benefiting the fighters. Even with Andy Cruz in his last fight that he just had right now, as sharp as Andy was looking, quick, and his reflexes were there. I mean, he looked real good. That jab was just beautiful. But at the same time, you even saw in that fight, if you paid close attention, Bozy was kind of bumping heads with Andy a little bit in the corner, wanting Andy to be a little bit more offensive, wanting him to take a lot more advantages that he felt like he saw. But clearly, Andy didn't see it that way. He fought his fight. He implemented whatever he could implement. In the later rounds, he started taking a little bit more chances. And we did, look, for all intents and purposes, we saw Andy hurt Omar Salcido later in that fight. And you might want to say to yourself, see, if you'd have been doing that since earlier, he would have stopped Omar Salcido. I'll ask you that real quick, because I do want to keep on moving the topic as far as Eddie Reynoso and Jaime Munguia is considered. And also, I want your opinion a little bit on this Paulie Malignaggi interview as well. I want to get in that. And not about Tank. Paulie spoke about boxing in general, right? The Tank part was like a 12-minute part of an hour-and-a-half interview, but Paulie had a lot to share just about boxing, and I'm interested in getting your opinion on some of those things. I don't know if you watch it, but I'll bring some of it to your attention. But bring it full circle back to say that as far as Andy Cruz's last performance and Bozy Ennis and Andy Cruz's relationship, that, you know, did it melt the way you thought it's supposed to melt, or did you start seeing the resistance that you said? You know, you mentioned that you saw Boots kind of like going through with Bozy in the corner a little bit. Did you see that with Andy, or is that working out well for Andy Cruz and that whole Bozy Ennis situation?
Well, I think with Andy's a little bit different. Andy's looking pretty good. I can see progression in Andy. I can't say that. I think the dynamic with Boots and his father, you have that father-son dynamic. They've been together forever, man. You know, so that plays a difference. You know what I mean? When you've been with a guy, you know, since the amateurs, man, you know, 20 plus years, y'all been grinding together. You know, this guy been barking at you in the gym, you know, making you do things you don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? Making you spar around you don't want to spar, man. And you know how the father and son thing, it's a dynamic, man. For the Andy Cruz, I mean, he's progressing. He looked good. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say he looked phenomenal, but I can see the Bozy Ennis style is helping him transition from that Cuban style, but I wouldn't throw the Cuban style completely out. I would make it, you know, gel together. I'm gonna do it, you know, and take the best of both worlds, you know, and make your own style that works for you, and also be able to adjust. And one more thing, you mentioned something about the trainers of the year. Right. As far as the trainers of the year, Floyd Mayweather Sr., I want to give him his flowers, man. You know, Floyd Mayweather Sr. is one of the best trainers who ever walked the planet, man. And Oscar De La Hoya said this is the best trainer you ever had. That's coming from a guy who fought killers, who fought guys, you know, not no tomato cans, not no setup fight. He fighting guys in their prime. And like Oscar De La Hoya, you may disagree with a lot of things he say. You may not like him outside the ring, but one thing you cannot dispute is that inside that ring, he didn't duck any smoke, and he fought the best when they were at their best. Yes, you win, lose, or draw, and you had to give him credit for that. I can separate my disdain or my dislike for a person from the actual facts that what happened in the ring. And Floyd Mayweather Sr. deserved that trainer of the year a lot, but he didn't get it. So it seemed like the trainer of the year conversation is always based around the popularity of the fighter. If it's a popular fighter, let's give him the award. When EJ was hot, they gave it to Derrick James. Canelo's hot, Eddie Reynoso. Mikey Garcia, Garcia was hot, they gave it to him. So who's ever the hot, popular fighter, they're going to usually give that guy the trainer of the year.
Yeah, for sure, man. I still got my eye on Bozy. I think, and you know, I look at the trainers very similar to how I look at the boxers, and I mean just on a competitive level. I pay attention to the trainers. I'm one of those boxing fans that do that. I don't think they get the light and the attention that they deserve. A lot of times these fighters kind of, you know, get the credit as if they did it by themselves. I look at the trainers, man. I watch them in the corner. I'm that guy who's watching what's going on in the corner. You know what I'm saying? In between the rounds, and I'm listening to what the trainer is saying, and I'm seeing how the fighter's executing, and I'm listening to how receptive the fighter's being to the trainer. And I think, you know, I speak about it at times about buying into the process. These fighters have to buy into the process with these trainers. In other words, I got to believe in what you're saying. If you're training me, I got to believe in you the same way you believe in me. If you can start seeing the disconnect, to me, it looks like the fighter is having issues with accepting what the trainer is saying is the best game plan. You know what I'm saying? Like with Terrence Crawford and Bomac, like they have a certain relationship in that corner. You can see them melt well. It's one of the reasons why I'm so confident in Terrence Crawford. I'm very confident in him because I believe that he has trainers who he believes and he values what they're saying to him in the corner. When they're observing things going on in the ring, he's taking that into real consideration. But then you'll see certain fighters, like let's say, I mean, I don't want to put Shakur and Wally Moses on the stand, but I'll say that there's been times when you kind of see Shakur kind of like, resisting a little bit of Wally's saying, just a little bit, you know what I mean? That might have to do with his hands being hurt, and he's just like, yo, the things you're asking me to execute, I believe in it, but my hands hurt that much, or whatever have you. Boots, you know what I mean? You kind of see a little bit of resistance, a little bit. You can tell just by the way Bosie's reacting, yelling at him to do what he wants him to do. And clearly Boots is not like talking back or anything, but when the bell rings and he goes into the round, he kind of shows you what he thinks about everything that Bosie was telling him. And even with Keyshawn and Bomac and in this case with Bosie Ennis and Andy Cruz, I thought I saw a little bit of resistance as well. Saw Andy Cruz kind of go into like cruise control and kind of bring his own Cuban style to the forefront in that fight against Omar Saucedo. Didn't really buy into completely the Bosie Ennis process. Seemed like he kind of reverted back to what worked for him, and it did work for him. Towards the end, I think when he hurt Omar Saucedo, that was a little bit of the Bosie influence. Right here, Richard Parrish says, Andy Cruz looks better each outing. He'll always have his Cuban style in his back pocket to box his way to victory, but he needs to bank rounds outside his comfort zone to add facets to his game. What do you think about that statement?
Now, I think my brother's spot on with that statement, man. Like I say, a guy like Andy Cruz, who's been around, got a lot of pedigree, man, got a lot of experience. You can never get rid of that. But that's who you are. That's who he is at his core DNA. That's who he is. Right. So I think it's like baking a cake. Maybe Bosie just putting a little icing on the cake. Maybe putting a few sprinkles on or something like that. Something to dress the cake up a little bit. But the cake is still the cake. The cake has already been baked already. And that's the beautiful thing. I think Andy Cruz is looking good. Me personally, I still favor Keyshawn in that fight. I think Keyshawn transitioned a little bit better with the pro style. I can't wait to see that matchup. I think it'll be a great matchup.
100%, 100%. Salute to the co-host Ray Davis.
I ain't giving no
salute, Ray. Salute, brother.
What up, Coach Eddie? What up to the chat? Salute. Yo, man, great topics today, man. I'm listening, I'm watching. Tom Morse set in the building. That's my dog. You know what I mean? Representing Jersey to the fullest.
For sure, man. And salute to the people. I know we was going on our little tangent talking this boxing. A lot of people came in here a little later. Cornelius Bennett, BFTB Boxing in the building. Salute, King. Honor to have you in the building.
Brother.
2 Cents. I'm not sure if I hollered at him. I know 2 Cents Boxing was in here. I hollered at him. Hunter Young in the building. Salute to you, King. 9 Fingers, Grassroots right there. Richard Paris in the building. Johnny Mertz in the building. Salute to you, King. Tom Morris said, of course, salute to all you guys, man. Clarence Banks in the building. As you're in the building, please, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel out a little bit there. A whole lot, actually. Let me not even take it lightly with you. I need you to hit those like buttons. It's free. Don't be a hater. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, take a moment to go ahead and do that as well. Hit the bell icon so you are getting alerts when I'm dropping this content. But back at you, Ray. Where you been, man? How you doing? I mean, don't tell us your personal business, but
Nah, that's cool. You already put it out there. You know what I mean? I had to take my oldest son to the doctor. You know what I mean? He wasn't feeling well, so it is what it is. Nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. I don't know what just happened. I just had a meltdown.
Okay.
If it's shut down, let me know. I don't know what just happened. Anything just went okay. Y'all coming back.
We can hear you. You just lost your avatar.
Yeah, everything just went down. Look, everything just went down. I'm good. Kind of weird. All right, we should be back. Oh, we should be back. Cameras on. There we go. That was weird. That was it was like
technology, man.
Remember Superman 2 when the earthquakes hit? Yeah, like one of those moments.
For sure. So, what do you think about the topics we've been building on? We actually was building on these trainers, obviously with Stephen.
Yeah.
Fight with Brandon Figueroa. Coach Eddie basically leaning towards Brandon Figueroa, but his heart is with Stephen Fulton.
I feel the same way, man. But and I put it in the chat earlier. I think it is a revenge tour. I just somehow I still don't see Fulton really losing because of what I feel inside. I feel like he figured him out. He already did it. His confidence is there. He just came back into a fight. He got his feet wet. He may be ready to go. But what I do see, look at Rollo Green with the sweet, mean little logo there. Shout out to Rollo Green. Logos are us. Ray Davis. You know what I mean? But, listen, man. At the same time, you know what I mean. So we see Figueroa, who's on a revenge tour. He's been licking his chops to get a chance at this opportunity again, right? So now he's got this opportunity. Does it remain the same? We will have to find out, because I think we get a lot of the same movements. We get overzealous. We can get in there, and bad things can happen because you're looking for something. You're looking for the revenge. So it can go both ways. You know what I mean? And I think Bozy, his more input, because he's always had input on Fulton's career. I'm not saying he was his main trainer, but he fought out of that gym for quite some time, and he always had some input. I think the aggressiveness of Bozy is just basically him trying to get Fulton to unleash the beast, right, in the ring, because I believe he thinks he has it. But Fulton's just not a puncher, bro. He's not a power puncher. So having somebody like that who can finesse a boxer in front of him and has a decent, resistance aside from Inoue, right? In the last fight he got clipped, but having a decent resistance because he was toe to toe with Figueroa last fight, right? That gives him an opportunity to show who he is. But hey, man, I like it. But Bozy, yeah, I don't really want to rain on his parade as much as I heard, some of the things, the cookie cutter thing, you know what I mean? Yes, everything is the same. I mean, you're just a baker's dozen. You just keep making the same thing over and over until you get it perfected. I get that. It's going to be like that, man, because styles are what the trainers are. They all have their own style. Derek James did it with his whole crew, right? Only person that was different was Ryan, because he did that silly shell. And not to say he couldn't even get him to stop doing it. He told him, stop that dumb shit, right? Didn't he? Because he was the only one not doing the same thing, and the only one that had success afterwards.
Right.
Well, they all had success, but you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Time. So, yes, it's very easy to pick apart things when you can see patterns in other fighters, other fights, and things of that nature when you have a specific style. But let's look on the other hand. What does Figueroa change? What has he changed since his fight with Fulton? That's what you got to look at. What has his trainer did to make him better prepared for this fight? Right. Is it the same, or is it mental? We got to look at it in both ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How much do you guys think that the last 12 rounds? You guys shared 12 rounds with each other. That goes into the into the database, right? Into what they understand going into this fight. Brandon Figueroa knows Stephen Fulton better, and Stephen Fulton knows Brandon Figueroa better. They have that with each other right now. How does that play into this fight, you think, with these guys?
I'm gonna really kick off because I know y'all were kicking for a minute, but
yeah.
Fulton wins, man. Look, in my heart, I feel it. I feel he wins. I mean, I see the odds. I see him moving up a weight. Figs been there for a little longer, but Figs hasn't had the power since he's been there, right? I think he got one knockout. He went the distance a couple times. He doesn't have the same ability as he had.
Yeah, two stoppages.
Okay. Right. So, all right. So then, okay, maybe it does help him moving up. But then again, he's already talking about moving.
And also, just kind of give you a fun fact, just to kind of take into consideration while you're talking, just to say that Stephen Fulton's had one fight since his loss against Monster Inoue, which was the Carlos Castro fight. We saw how that fight went. Brandon Figueroa's been pretty busy, man. Fought 3 fights, got himself a WBC interim title that's now going to be on the line as a full title that night of fight. And out of those 3 fights, he had 2 stoppages and 1 unanimous decision against Mark Magsalia. So does that play a factor? To take that into consideration, I know you was about to go into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's where I was actually going with it. So, but the fights that he had, like, does that help him? Because he's already now talking about what we mentioned before, right? When you start talking about moving to the next weight, that also plays a part. Is he going to be weight drain fighting this fight? Is he going to be okay fighting this fight? Is he going to have the power? Is Cool Boy going to remember how his patterns were? You know what I mean? That plays a part. Round 13, right? We always kick it off that way. And round 13, I think Fulton does have enough to get the job done. I really do. I believe that. I think he's already gotten his feet wet. I think that Carlos Campos fight was I keep saying
Castro. And also that is a common opponent they have in between each other. Is that Carlos Castro fight? Keeping in mind that Brandon Figueroa stopped Carlos Castro's in the 6th round of their fight, and Carlos Castro arguably beat Stephen Fulton in that last fight, even though Stephen Fulton won. But
I don't see that. I think Stephen Fulton dominated that fight. I think the knockdown was a really good.
A couple times too.
Huh?
He got buckled in a couple of rounds too. Like he got.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say. I think the knockdown was a big look for the fans because they've seen blood. You know what I mean? I think some of the clean shots that he landed, people were like, "Oh, big shots." I ain't gonna say clean, but some of the big shots that he landed on Stephen Fulton, people were like, "Oh, okay, that's what it is." That has nothing to do with how the fight is going. Because you still were out punched, out pointed, and everything. You know what I mean? Stephen Fulton, he took a lot of stuff on the beard, bro. So, I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't mean that he's not capable of getting knocked down. It's boxing, bro. You can turn and look the other way because your coach screams something and you get clipped and knocked down. You could be the best fighter in the world. It happens. Right. It's boxing. Any puncher in that ring can knock you down. So, you know what I mean? It's very possible they can even knock you out and you can take the L. So that's just boxing. I'm never going to take that away from anybody, no opponent. You know what I mean? Styles make fights, and I think Fulton has a style to nullify Figueroa.
I like it, man. I like it. I think so too, man. I'm you know what I mean? I'm okay with all the takes because the reality is, Stephen Fulton, I think on pedigree alone, I think Stephen Fulton is just a better fighter than Brandon Figueroa. But I do question the mental strength. I question, has he recovered from that monster in the way stoppage? I question the new the relationship between him and Bozy and what that manifests into in the ring. Chances he's taking that I'm seeing him doing a lot more of. He's sitting in the pocket a little bit more. He's getting hit a little bit more. He's taking more chances. He's sitting on those punches, and he looks like he's really more focused on like stopping fighters and, you know, like causing a lot of damage. And those things, bringing those things into consideration against a fighter like Brandon Figueroa, who has like damn near an 80% stop ratio. I think it's like 76, 78% KO ratio. I think he can be dangerous, you know what I mean, to say the least for Stephen Fulton. So I think it's going to be an interesting fight to watch no matter what at the end of the day. Did you hear about the relation? And we can all get into this topic right here. I was actually about to bring this up with Coach Eddie. This new relationship right now.
Hey, Claymore, can I just want to, not a rebuttal, I just want to bring something else to the conversation about what Ray just said. Now, you remember in the first punch, I can see why why Brandon Figueroa thought he won the fight. Now, if we just go by the numbers simply, Fulton landed 247 punches out of 668. Brandon Figueroa landed 314 out of 1,060. He outworked him and he outlanded him. I mean, he outworked him by a lot. We talking 300-400 punches. And he outlanded him by, about 70 punches. So you can see why he felt like he won that fight. Right. So that's what I'm saying. That high output, is Stephen Fulton going to be able to keep up with that?
Yeah, that's the point.
That's an interesting stat right there. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. That's an interesting stat right there. Yeah, for sure. We'll get the answers on Saturday night for sure. We're going to have to see how that works out.
Listen, I'm going to roll with my pockets. My pockets say Figueroa wins. But, you know what I mean? The desire and the heart does go with Fulton, man. I just think Fulton has a chance to pull it out. I think he has a lot of cadence that he will remember and bring to this fight.
Yo, Rob Scott's crazy. Man, listen, man, going into this fight, it's going to be an interesting fight to say the least, as always, to watch. But I'm going to go ahead and move the needle forward because, at this point, we're going to either predict the future or not, right? And we can't predict the future. So, but I think there's a whole lot of outside factors that are going to play in this particular match. I think we're dealing with a fighter in Stephen Fulton that's on a journey. Let's see where that journey has taken him to at this point in this fight with Brandon Figueroa. It's definitely a redemption or revenge tour, as was stated earlier. But I think most of us, I think we're all on the same page to say our heart is with Stephen Fulton. We want to see him come out with a victory, but the mind plays tricks on you sometimes, and the math sometimes ain't mathing. And we got to be honest with you guys. I'm leaning towards Brandon Figueroa for the victory. I'm hoping Stephen Fulton's able to bring it back. Hoping I'm wrong, you know what I mean? And I think the guys on the panel are on the same page. Moving forward with this whole entire news that's coming out with Eddie Reynoso's addition to Jaime Munguia's camp, that he's actually going to be head trainer of Jaime Munguia at this point. Jaime Munguia is kind of getting known for this, right? Like he moved with Freddie Roach before, and then he kind of came back to his old trainer. You know what I'm saying? We saw what happened with him. He had a decent victory against who was it? Bazinian, I can't remember his name is, but he had a victory there. But then we saw what happened with Bruno Sarasi, whatever his name is, and whatever has happened in that fight with that knockout, you know, Jaime Munguia felt it necessary to make some changes in his camp, and he's brought on Eddie Reynoso. Eddie Reynoso now working with Teofimo Lopez, working with Jaime Munguia. What are you thinking about what Eddie Reynoso is doing, and also the addition to Jaime Munguia? Is this a good thing for Jaime Munguia at this point, or is, you know, time will tell that story as well?
Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, yeah. I think it's just another celebrity coach, man. You know, once these guys get one fighter, they think that they can work miracles with anybody, and these fighters gravitate to these guys. Same thing like with Freddie Roach. Right. When everybody was going to Freddie Roach, I think everybody was going to Derrick James. They looking at who the hot fighter is, and they accrediting all that to the trainers. But you also have to look at their failures also. Look at the stories where the fighter was not so successful. Right. You know, they made these changes to their training regimen and all that stuff, but getting chained in trainers like they changed their underwear. I mean, dude, Jaime Munguia, he just got knocked out. You know, that wasn't nothing that the trainer did wrong. It's just you got caught. That's boxing. Right. You got caught by a guy that you thought that couldn't hurt you, and that's what happened. You know, you let your guard down, and that's why those box rec can be your best friend or it can be your best enemy. It can be your worst enemy. Right. You go on box rec, this guy ain't fought nobody, blah, 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 blah. And then you get in there and this dude can fight. Or, you know, prime example, you get in there with a guy with an upside down record, but look who he been fighting. The dude, he got a messed up record, but he can fight. Because he been fighting top guys. And you got these guys with these inflated records who haven't been fighting nobody. So, like, as far as the trainer situation, hey, if that may be the mental edge that he thinks he needs, a lot of times it's a career move. Because if you get with the right trainer, they can get you more fights. That's true. You know, and a lot of times that's all it is. It's a career move.
So in this particular case scenario, do you have opinion one way or the other as far as does this addition benefit Jaime Munguia? Does he become a better fighter? Or are we more confident in the Jaime Munguia brand with an Eddie Reynoso there, or is this strictly just surface level aesthetics being served as far as bringing Eddie Reynoso on?
Surface level, and it makes no contribution to this kid. I mean, the kid is what he is, man. You're not going to add too many wrinkles to this guy. I mean, this guy already got a couple of gift decisions already. He's been, he's been on that golden boy diet. You know what that golden boy diet is. You know, hey, they got a whole lot of cans for you. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it. You know, so it is what it is.
Going back to the commercial. Listen, bro, I agree. Here's the thing. Jaime Munguia is a good fighter. He was a good fighter at 150, 154, right? He was decent at 160 for one fight, and then he moved. He had a tough fight there. Moved right into 168. Been nothing but headache for him. Tough fights. He seemed to overcome. I thought he was that guy because he seemed to show that he had a beard and he had the will to win. Having the will is enough for me to determine if you're going to be a really good fighter. All the fighters have will, but you know what I mean. Like it's the passion when you're taking that chance. Switching trainers though, that's crazy. It's your fault why you got knocked out. It wasn't your trainer's fault. Your trainer didn't tell you go in there and drop your hand while you were trying to punch this guy in the face. You did that. Right. So at the same time, we have to look at Jaime Munguia of holding himself accountable for what just happened on his mistake, not putting on a trainer. I think it could be a gift and a curse, though, you know, in the same way, because sometimes you pick things up along your way, right? As you're moving from trainer to trainer, which is a bad and a good thing, because the bad thing is we look what happened with AJ, moving through trainers within two years, he had 3 or 4 trainers. He ended up getting clipped when we thought he had, you know, he was just picking up different pieces of the puzzle to put it together to become this champion again. and run through the division to get rematch with Usyk. But it didn't work out that way because why? You always go back to what you do best, right? You're a creature of habit. And I think Jaime McGee is the same way. He's going to be a creature of habit. It doesn't matter who he goes to. He's going to do the same thing and have the same flaws. And that's the problem. I don't think it matters who he goes to. I don't think Eddie Reynoso fixes anything. Eddie Reynoso, I think, is a little overrated in my opinion, but it is what it is.
Yeah, man, it is. It definitely is what it is on that one. But definitely wanted your opinion on that situation. And more recent news just coming out that Ryan Garcia has enrolled in VADA testing before his fight with Rolly Romero. He said he wouldn't do it. He didn't want to do it, but he's actually gone ahead and done that. What do we think about that, guys? We have any opinions on him going ahead and enrolling in the VADA testing? Is that a good thing? Is Ryan just? I'm be real with you guys. You know, Ryan Garcia has been cringeworthy to say the least. For the past year, it's been cringeworthy energy coming from him. But at the same time, I'm going to be real with you. Ever since he's kind of affiliated himself with Saudi Arabia and Turkey, I've seen a more mature version of him. He's not really saying crazy things like he was before. I mean, he's still being confident and poking and throwing his shots at Devin Haney and doing all those things. And that's, you know, what you would expect for him to do. But I do see a sense of a little bit more of a maturity coming from his area. At least he's trying to exude it a little bit more. I think the relationship with Turkey is influencing that. He doesn't want to embarrass himself overseas in another country. He wants to, you know what I'm saying, keep his cool, whatever have you. But needless to say, bringing that full circle with the VADA testing, him enrolling in VADA testing, does that mean anything to anybody? Is that a sign of good faith from Ryan Garcia at this point, or is he still just, you know, watch out for him to do something crazy?
Listen, Clay, I mentioned this before. I said on other panels. Where else is he going to go? There's no other source of testing in boxing. If there is one, nobody really knows about it, right? Because we ask questions. USADA is an Olympic style testing. They work with the Olympic Committee and the amateur committee. They don't really work in pro boxing. They had their little sting there where they did for a little bit, and then they moved along. VADA is boxing throughout the world. It's not just the U.S. Multiple people use VADA. You can look across, look across the globe and see how many fighters use VADA. VADA is not stationed just in the U.S. They don't just work with VADA. They work with other agencies that do the testing. All they're there to do is just collect the sample. That's it. And people want to throw that in a hat. And because it starts with V, it sounds like Victor. And they just kind of mix them all together and they try to make that a problem. That is not the case, man. Listen, VADA is where it is in boxing. It's clean boxing. WBC works with VADA for clean boxing. Everyone's favorite fighter, Earl Spence, works with VADA, right? He's been working with VADA for a long time. And as far as like most of the people, Canelo, et cetera, I can go on the list. There's like a million of boxers. Bam. Dude, anyway, they all work with VADA, man. It's not like you going somewhere else. Even Caleb and Liam Parle and all them guys over there in England and Australia, they work with VADA. Where are you going to go where you're not going to get a VADA test agency representative to come there and collect your sample? In the story, y'all just want somebody where it's more predictable. VADA is not predictable as you say it is. Victor Conti has no idea when they're coming because they just show up at your doorstep. They're just unannounced, and that's why they contact the fighter when they're coming the day of or whatever the hours of. People are misconstruing things. USADA was the one that gave you a scheduled plan. Listen, we're going to come here. We'll be here in about this many times. This here. USADA was also used in the National Football League for a little bit. Why do you think so many football players were getting away with it until they came up with their own protocols on how to randomly test these guys? Once they started doing random testing, guys started getting caught. So that changed the game in football. So we got to stop looking at VADA as what it is. Ryan had no choice at the end of the day. So I don't know. People just say stuff because they just want to say it.
I mean, we're going to tell the news it is what it is, but he has enrolled in it. That's a good sign as far as fights happening. I think that what's happening is everybody's getting past the silliness of it all. As far as Ryan Garcia is concerned, and anybody built around that situation, Turkey's put out a game plan, an opportunity for these guys to fight each other, make a lot of money. Nobody's trying to mess that up. Everybody's going to check the boxes and do what they're supposed to do. Devin Haney and his team have dropped the case and charges against Ryan Garcia. They're not going to let insignificant outside factors mess up this opportunity, and Ryan Garcia in turn is cooperating. He's gone ahead and enrolled himself in VADA. He's taking fighting seriously. He's taking this Rolly, and that's what I'm more interested in, of anything, is just Ryan Garcia taking boxing a lot more serious. I want to see him dialed in. I want to see everybody involved in these fights dialed in, give us the best fights that they can possibly give us. And it looks like Ryan's playing his part. It looks like Devin's playing his part, and we can anticipate something positive coming out of it as far as from a boxing fan's point of view. Coach Eddie, any comments or any input on it?
No, I agree with 100% everything Ray just broke down. The only thing I could probably add to it is, Ryan Garcia seemed like the Teflon Don, man. Anybody else, he would be a pariah, man. But he's been able to make all these offenses, man. I mean, be politically incorrect. Be a drug cheat. People run into his defense on every platform. I've never seen anything like this. It's like diabolical. I think if this circle was a little bit closer together, there may be a little bit of outcome. I'm just saying, but different outcome. It was just weird to me, this kid, people sticking up for this guy. Look, you failed the test, man. It is what it is, and he has to wear that jacket, just like they put that jacket on Canelo, they put that jacket on Tyson Fury, and guess what? They still had that jacket on them. Once you get that jacket on, you can't shake it. That jacket is still on Shane Mosley right now.
Right.
He's been retired from boxing for years. So Big Baby Miller, that jacket's on him. Freaking Dillian White. I mean, you can go down the list. Once you pop dirty, man, it's always gonna be that suspicion. Well, how long have you been doing it? You know what I'm saying? How long have you been doing this? And finally, you just got caught. It's like most people that get DUIs, they've been drunk over 1,000 times before they actually get caught. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same type.
I remember
man.
one night. I mean, not for anything. One night bought a couple bottles, and this was in Atlanta. And my brother came into town, and the hotel that I got for us, I lived in Atlanta at the time, but we wanted to, we got a real nice hotel, and after the club, heading back to the hotel, matter of fact, I remember what it was. My crib was getting worked on. The landlord had to work on my crib. Something was going on with it. We couldn't stay in it that night. But regardless, got drunk as hell. Man, I drove home swerving crazy, wild. Like, I couldn't believe it was late at night, so the roads were really clear, and I made it back. But, the day I ever got caught with a DUI, it wouldn't have been the first time I did it. You know what I mean? It is what it is, bro. You know what I mean? I just got caught that night. Moving the needle and continue to move it as far as current news is concerned. We've got information right now. March 29th, Top Rank has finally put the card together. It looks like Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan are going to be getting that sequel, which I thought was a fight of the year candidate. I thought they fought the living daylights out of each other last year. But on the undercard, we got Bruce Carrington and Vivas on that card. And of course, Brian Norman Jr. makes his return and defends his WBO title against Cuevas. Carlos Cuevas on that card. Any thoughts on that, guys? I think it's interesting, though, that, look, it is what it is. I guess at the end of the day, Michaela Mayer is a bigger star. I guess she is a bigger star than Brian Norman, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weird that, he wouldn't be the main. Is it weird? I don't know. Is it weird that he's not the main event, that he's fighting on an undercard to Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan? Am I crazy? What is it? What are we talking about here?
No, it's not weird. He's still coming out of prospects. You know what I mean? Like at 20-something.
I don't know.
Still, I think he just got into his 10 round fights of contention, like maybe a fight or two ago. So it's not weird. You know what I mean? He's a star. Him being on that stage shows that he's a star, right?
Also being in that conversation of what's going on in the welterweight division, I guess. I'm just saying, like, it just seems like the welterweight division is picking up some steam just off the strength of the unification fights that are going to be coming out of it, right? It looks like all of a sudden you got Stanionis and Boots about to unify, and Mario Barrios and Brian Norman are kind of floating out of there, or kind of floating around in that conversation. But Brian Norman definitely has a huge rivalry with Boots Ennis, and it's probably one of the most highly anticipated fights in the welterweight division, I would think, as far as Boots Ennis and Brian Norman is concerned. Am I crazy about thinking that, or
no?
You know what I mean?
We do got to be honest with ourselves, right? It was a gift fight for him. You know what I mean? It was something that he willed to win. Shout out to Brian Norman Jr.
You talking about against Santillan?
Huh?
Santillan? You talking about the victory he got?
Yeah. he willed to win that fight. Yo, he went in there to get that belt, right?
Right, but I don't know. You kind of making it sound like he was
No,
lucky.
I'm saying he was picked to lose. Nobody expected him to win.
Right.
So I'm saying he willed to win. Like he went in there believing he can do it.
And beat the brakes off that boy.
Right. So I mean, he's still not that guy over there that they wanted him to be. We know how promoters can be, right? And that's what I'm saying. So I mean, he's still getting out of that contention role, man. He's going to be who they're going to be. They're going to put him there until it's time for him to be the star. Once he finds that bag, or once he finds that angle or that niche, he'll be there. You know what I mean? Let's just be patient with him. No, I don't. I think that's the hottest division in boxing, if not other than heavyweight and middleweight, and throughout history. Let's be fair.
Right.
And yeah, they're treating it like it's secondary right now, right? And I get it. And he's a champion in that division. But again, it's who do people know? Believe it or not, I think more people know Malika Mayer than they do.
I think so. I agree.
Norman Jr.
Especially in like Tom Morris just said here. He said, it's more substance with the Mayer versus Ryan fight. Look at the promotional poster for it. They're trying to market their fight off that paint incident. Yeah, when you look at the poster, it's the paint thing. They're doing the whole entire paint incident thing. You know what I mean? There's paint behind Michaela and paint behind Sandy. And you got Brian Norman. They got him as a co-main event in that fight. So I mean, it is what it is. I didn't know how to take it. I'm not insulted by it or anything like that. But I do think it's interesting. Look, Michaela and Sandy, Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan headlined the last card. Had Xander Zayas on the undercard, had Bruce Carrington on the undercard, and they're bringing it back again. It looks like the fight is going to be happening where's the fight in Vegas this time? They're going to go to Vegas this time, so Sandy Ryan doesn't have to worry about the paint being on a, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of a neutral ground. And of course, everybody's anticipating seeing what Brian Norman Jr. is going to bring to the table. They want to see that fight. You want to see that fight between him and Boots. It's had so much of a build-up. It was such a messy negotiation in front of everybody, but it did kind of build up a little bit of anticipation for the fight. Coach, what do you think about this card, man?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but this also says Brian Norman up in a case where he can probably steal the show, because like the way he fights, man, he does fight. He's all action guy, man. So it could be a little bit of a letdown if the main event isn't, live up to the fight that we just seen. You know how that goes, man. You can have a great fight, and then you goddamn your adrenaline's up, and your freaking attention span is through the roof, and then you have a letdown. So like I say, it is what it is, man. Brian Norman Jr., I like a guy. He's a good fighter right out here out of Atlanta. So maybe he just doesn't have that star power that they wanted to make him a main event, but it's coming down the line. Like I said, I don't look too much into it. A lot of times I think right now there's a big push also to, with the equality in boxing. So they're trying to put a lot of these females, make them main events just to show, that we are, trying to strive to, do better in our fighting and try to showcase the female boxing a little bit more.
Right. It's about this. It's about that time for Bruce Carrington, right? Like, are we looking for Bruce Carrington? I mean, he's fighting Enrique Vives in this fight right here. I'm trying to find Enrique on this on the ranking system, see where he kind of lands. I don't even see him as a top 15 fighter anywhere on any of these lists here. But look, man, that's the fight he's fighting. But I mean, at some point, you want to see Bruce Carrington kind of make a power move. He's another one of those guys who came in with that amateur pedigree, only 14 fights as a professional, only 8 knockouts. But he has been on kind of like he was on a decent run, knocking people out on his last 2 fights. Just going to majority decisions and a unanimous decision, but he's up there in the ranking system as far as, let's see where we have him here. I think he's ranked like overall, he's number 8 in the whole entire featherweight division, and he's right there, number 1 for the WBO title under Rafael Espinosa, and he's right there, number 1 on that WBC list as well, underneath Brandon Figueroa, and in that conversation, obviously with Stephen Fulton as well, and he's number 2 in the WBA rankings, the number 1 spot being vacant, and we know Nick Ball is a champion there at the WBA. At some point, are we looking Bruce Carrington to jump into a title shot? Are we ready to see that? I mean, we're talking about a division that is expecting the gracing of Monster Inoue at some point. They're expecting this guy to be in the division. I think a lot of people wanted to see Bruce Carrington potentially fighting a Monster Inoue. Monster Inoue showing up to Bruce Carrington's fight, like that fight. I can't remember who he fought, but he showed up there. They had the whole little situation where they were bowing in front of each other, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's kind of like anticipated to see him either fight Monster Inoue or obviously Nick Ball seems to be in that conversation as well. But Bruce Carrington, number 2, right there underneath Nick Ball, you would expect something to happen with Bruce Carrington. Are you guys anticipating this guy finally getting a title shot somewhere? He's up there everywhere. Number 4 in the IBF rankings as well.
I mean, with the division clear now, a lot of guys moving up. I think he does get an opportunity eventually, right? It's nothing but the champions there. Robici, Romero taking a step backwards. Where else are they going to go? As far as Inoue came to see him, you know what I mean? I think that's something they're trying to build, to have an Inoue fight in Vegas on his next fight. That shows a lot. I think that puts a lot of play into the Carrington Inoue fight. Carrington Shushu is a great fighter. He definitely has what it takes. I just think it's just taking a little too long to get him where he needs to go. I don't know if it's him, or I don't know if it's a promotional team. I don't know if it's, you know what I mean, top rank. But I think that our management team, rather, I'm sorry. But I think he's definitely taking the right steps. I think it's you know, giving credence. I can't speak. Giving credence to him moving into the right direction, and he's now in the right place. I think in the division where he's going to get those shots, he's going to get those opportunities. And I think it's about that time. Shout out to Boxing Hacker.
Yeah, it seems like he's right there, man. It seems like he's right there. And you know, maybe they're looking for him to get a knockout with this Enrique. Maybe they want, you know, build up something, because Enrique Vivas is sitting at 23-3. Let's see what he's doing out here in the world. He's not ranked top 15. I think he's like number 21 or something like that across the board. 52% knockout ratio, 23 wins, 12 knockouts, 3 losses. It seems like a fight stylistically. He's Mexican. No, he's not Mexican. Where is he from? Yeah, he's Mexican. So first and foremost, you know what I mean, that style of fighting that you're expecting him to bring to the table kind of like stylistically favors Bruce Carrington getting the opportunity to stop him. But Bruce is up there, man. You want to see him. You want to see him kind of like get a title shot. What do you think, Coach Eddie?
I think he's on the right path. You know, him being with Top Rank. You know, one thing about Top Rank, we got to give him credit. You know, like them or not, you know, they're good at making champions, man, and they're very good. They have like a good program, a good strategy how to get these guys to the title shot. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Now, it's like you graduate from Top Rank at some point in time, but I think Shushu's on the right diet right now, and he's definitely going to get that title shot. If it's against Monster Inoue, I don't know if they're probably, of course, he won't be the favorite in that fight, you know, but it's an opportunity, you know, that you can fight for a title. So, yeah, hey, hats off to him. I think the kid's got a lot of talent, got a lot of upside. I enjoy watching him fight. You know, he's with that new blood that's coming in, the Abdullah Mason, the Shushu's and all them guys, you know, the Keyshawn Davis. So I'm excited about those guys like in their early 20s and stuff like that, the younger guys. The guys that are up there like 27, 28, they're more looking for the big money fights. Hey, hats off to them. Boxing is a business. You got to get your bread, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Shushu's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, man. You know, I guess for me, in order for him to fight a Monster Inoue, he's gonna have to get some jewelry, man. He's gonna have to become part of the conversation there at 126, and the only way to be part of that conversation is to get a strap. It's about that time for him. I'm sure he's being patient, and I'm sure he's staying busy. I agree with the fight happening. I'm not against the fight at all. I love seeing Bruce fight. So this is a good fight. It's a Mexican fighter who's probably going to be coming forward flat-footed. It's going to give him an opportunity to kind of like showcase what he's been trying to showcase. His last 2 fights that Bruce has been sitting on. Let me see here. Was I think it was like 2 boxers pretty much. It was pretty much he was kind of like, you know, chasing these fighters around. Yeah, Dana Coolwell and then Suleiman Sagawa, who was definitely a boxer staying on his toes. And Dana Coolwell as well, not, you know what I mean, not coming forward. You know what I mean, just really just kind of like fighting his fight. Made it a little difficult for Bruce Carrington to do what he wanted to do. I think stylistically, Top Rank is probably putting a Mexican flat-foot fighter in front of him to give him the opportunity to build up something bigger. I don't know which fight it's going to be, but yo, listen, man, he's right there. He's supposed to be fighting somebody, whether it's going to be him versus the winner between Steven Espinosa and Brandon Figueroa, or maybe if Rafael Espinosa hangs back and doesn't go to 130, or maybe he'll be fighting for a vacant WBO title, or, you know, sitting up in there waiting for an opportunity to fight Nick Ball. Nick Ball has a fight coming up soon as well. When is Nick Ball getting ready to fight, guys? You know, I know he's getting ready to fight soon. He has a fight with TJ Doheny, right? Right.
Yo, that could be an interesting fight right there, man.
I was actually going to say that. You know, I think he's going to get the winner of Nick Ball or Figueroa Fulton. I mean, he's been trying to fight Fulton for a long time too. So this would be something that it come into work. So whoever the winner of that fight is, I think he gets those guys.
Yeah, and March 29th, that's in 2 months. Does that line up with the Riyadh season card coming out? And I think they got one coming in May. No, May or May? Is it May? I don't know, but I know Nick Ball is fighting very soon. Obviously, Brandon Figueroa and Steve Fulton fighting this coming weekend. He's up there, man. He's lined up to fight somebody, man, to make a big fight, man.
Right. And the fighter he's got in front of him is he's just a freaking cake statue, bro. Unfortunately, he's just going to be there to be hit. I promise you. The guy doesn't. He does take a lot of punishment. He hasn't gotten knocked out much. I mean, he does, but you know what I mean. But we'll have to see how he holds up. But he has a lot of he's definitely getting Actually, he never got knocked out. His losses have all come by decisions, and there was some tough decisions. But he stands in the pocket. He doesn't move. He's just a combatant. He gets hit a lot. And he leaves his whole jaw open. I watched some highlights of him, and he's just not. He's not it. Let's just put it that way. He's not it.
Well, look, guys, we're getting into the last 15 minutes before it's 3 hours that have been running this live. I did kind of want to talk about that Paulie Malignaggi. Oh, shout out to Boxing Hacker, by the way. I forgot to shout him out. Shout out to Boxing Hacker with the $2 holler in the bill. It says Monster will punch Shushu whole face off. Ouch. Yeah, man. Listen, man, we don't know until we see it, right? So see those guys in the ring. Let's see Monster do it. Monster looking like he is going to make some sort of his presence felt at 126 at some point. The fans are becoming restless. And they want to see him step up the competition, man. What he's been doing at 122 has been great. I think there's like 1 or 2 fights that they want to see him get done there. Nakatani being one. If he wants to come up for 117 to go fight at 122 there, and I see Eddie Hearn kind of campaigning for his fighter as well to get his opportunity at Monster anyway. But 126 is waiting on him. I think the boxing space is waiting on him to be up there as well. Probably be a big splash, one of his first big splashes on the American boxing scene. Once he hits that 126, people will probably start paying a lot more closer attention to him if you haven't already been paying attention. But Paulie Malignaggi had his moment. I don't know if you guys saw the full interview. Don't even know if this is a show to do it on. But you know, Paulie really spoke towards the boxing game in general. Even spoke towards Devin Haney a little bit. Spoke towards him robbing, quote unquote, robbing the bank a little bit, fighting guys out of their prime. And you know, I don't know if that's him robbing the bank as far as being on purpose robbing the bank, or just opportunities that were in front of him that he took advantage of.
Can I interject on that real quick? Yeah. So here's the problem, and how I disagree with that. Paulie Malignaggi, right, he's been hating on a lot of fighters that are obviously of the black race. A lot of people feel that way. When he was discussing Devin Haney before, and Devin Haney said afterward, because Devin Haney didn't say he wouldn't lose to a white fighter until after Paulie said something weird to him, right? Saying that Eastern Europeans are better. He'll never beat Lomachenko. I'll never beat this guy. I'll never beat that guy. Cambosos is going to beat the brakes off him like he did Teofimo Lopez. So when he said these things, right, he was saying that Devin was replying to him, right? So now Paulie saying these things back is like, it's kind of ignorant in a way, because Paulie was what you call poking the bear a little bit with Devin Haney. And I'm like I said, I'm not coming to his defense. He was definitely poking the bear with him, and it wasn't right at the same time. You know what? It is what it is. We're gonna move forward with that, Clay. You know what I mean? We're gonna move forward with that. But I just think that Paulie has a lot of weird analysis when it comes to certain things. But I think he's a great pundit for boxing. Like, I think he gets great points. But I just think his analysis of fighters and based on who he likes, because he's, you know, it comes down to who you like, whatever, and your judgment of certain things. I think he has too much bias towards as an analyst, as a boxing analyst, and he doesn't have a lot of open subjecting when it comes to certain fighters, unless it's somebody he doesn't like more, basically.
Yeah, we added 2 more great minds. I think they were waiting in the background for this topic to come up. They didn't really care about all the other stuff. As soon as they heard, you know what I mean? They heard something they wanted to talk about in the building. Shout out to Rich. I respect the belts and 2 cents boxing.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Y'all should do a show together. 2 Rich, 2 cents.
I don't even know what's going on. Y'all catch me up. Let me see what I can shake today.
I mean, look, we just talking about the Paulie Malignaggi interview. I had the opportunity to watch the video, the interview in its full entirety. With Fight Hype. I thought it was a great interview, man. I thought he spoke, man, bro. I was honestly rocking with a lot of the stuff he was saying, man. I mean, there were some things in there that were personal to him, personal opinions to himself, and not necessarily I don't necessarily share the same personal opinion as, but I think when he just spoke in general about the boxing space, in general, the direction that boxing is going into, and you know, what boxing needs to go back to, and, you know, comparing talents from back in the day to talents today, and the difference between the hunger and, you know, how the payola has affected these fighters' whole entire intense hunger to achieve greatness and legacy and things of that nature. I thought he was pretty much on point with a lot of it, man. I thought it was one of the best boxing interviews I've seen in a minute, just speaking on boxing. You know what I mean? Not speaking about a particular fighter or a particular fight or anything like that. Just perspective from a fan base as far as what we want to see in boxing. I thought Paulie highlighted it pretty well, but I'm interested in everybody else's perspective on the panel right now if they did see it. I know Too Rich commented in the comment section a little bit. It seemed like he was pretty much in agreement with some of it, and 2 cents, of course, I'm sure, seen it too.
No, actually, I'll be honest with y'all. I don't watch Paulie. I don't, you know, it's certain people and things that I don't watch or listen to, and Paulie is one of those people. So I really don't. I don't have an informed decision. Let me say that. I mean, I don't have an informed opinion. Let me say that because I didn't watch it.
Okay. What about you, Too Rich?
Man, to me, like I say, it was a good interview, man. I hold a lot of stock in what people that say that's inside the industry. Damn, hold on 1 second. A call.
Sure.
All right, I'm here. I hold a lot of stock in what I hear people say inside the industry, because they know more than what we know. And sometimes when these boxers say stuff that's favorable, people use it. When they say stuff that's unfavorable, then they're the bad guy. But I would like people to go back. Paulie Malignaggi was signed to the PBC. If you go back in the days and look at an interview with Paulie Malignaggi, he praised Al Haymon. He said no boxer could make it in the industry without Al Haymon, without signing to the PBC. So he's somebody that benefited and really praised Al Haymon. So he's on the inside. And I think he's telling you, what did he say different than what we're saying? He's saying the same thing. We just shocked to hear him say it, because maybe he more supposed to be a partner. Huh?
What's the same thing he's saying?
Well, he basically pretty much saying Tank ain't fighting nobody, and he pretty much milking the game for the most part. That's the the gist of it, and it's the same thing that we say out here in the street. But I'm saying he understands it from the inside. Let me give you another example. As soon as Errol Spence got on the other side of Tank, these are PBC guys, but as soon as Errol Spence was placed against Tank, what did Errol Spence say? Who you fought? You ain't fought nobody. So they're letting you know what the constituents inside, your contemporaries, that's what they're thinking,
is, right? Like what the consensus is amongst your peers.
And it's gonna come from the inside first. They know what's going on. They know the game. So it was a good interview. I liked it.
So you don't think Spence was just trying to sell the fight for his fighter? You think he really feel like that about Tank?
Yeah,
I think 100% he does feel that. I think a lot of people feel like that about Tank. But it wasn't only Tank.
So what about what Shakur said about Top Rank matching fighters up and the matching and this and that? Y'all remember when Shakur made that tweet, put that tweet out, basically saying Top Rank is putting their fighters in fights to look good and win, and that's why when it's time for them to put those fighters up against champions, they don't do it. I'm just trying to make a point that this is not something unique.
So, 2 cents to answer that, I think all promoters do that. I think
exactly
promoters are trying to do that, not just Top Rank.
And exactly. That's the point I was making. That's the point I was making.
So I mean, it's kind of crazy that you said that, but I think he was definitely leveling that up against the Loma criteria, because he's trying to get that Loma fight. So I get it. What was that when he tried to get the Oscar fight? Hold on, I remember the comment.
Okay. Anyway, so I thought what Paulie was saying, like Too Rich is saying, has been being said. And I agree with you 100%, Too Rich, as far as, you know, Paul. Listen, man, I can't help nobody on their feelings on Paulie Malignaggi as to whether or not he's a racist or I you know what I mean, I don't think he's a racist. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't think he is, but I'm not here to defend him either and fight for it. That's up to him he said what he said back in the day. I think, you know, when it comes to certain topics, people don't want certain people to speak on them in a negative way, or they want them to be super self-conscious as to the way they communicate it. I think Paulie doesn't subscribe to that approach. He just feels like, I'm gonna be raw, I'm gonna speak to it, I'm gonna tell you how I feel about it. Things that I've heard him say, I don't feel like we're racist per se, but I do. I mean, I guess people hold ill towards him speaking bad about black fighters. Black fighters are some of the biggest stars in American boxing. When you're talking about the fighters he's talking about the biggest stars in the game, and he's giving his true opinions on them, what they're doing, what they've accomplished, who they are, who they fought. He's doing what he's supposed to do as a boxing analyst. The interview was a good interview off the strength that he spoke about boxing in general. He talked about Turkey and his presence in the game. He gave the pros and the cons of what he's doing in the game. And, you know, he wants Turkey to continue to do things in a positive way, but also highlighted the fact that, you know, Turkey not being here for the long run as a possibility is dangerous with the strategy he's approaching the space with. If he's not going to be here for the long run, he can actually hurt boxing. He spoke about Devin Haney and the fights that he got involved with and how he feels like, you know, Devin Haney was robbing the bank. I think he used those words to say that. I understood where he was coming from. He gave a great example, just basically saying the 1.7 million that Devin Haney walked away from to defend his title against Sandor Martin. He said that was a sign from his perspective that Devin Haney's been getting overpaid, because if that wasn't enough enough money to get paid off of a defeat like what you just suffered with Ryan Garcia, an opportunity to defend your title as well as stay busy, then clearly he must have been being overpaid, was his perspective. Do I agree with it 100%? No, not necessarily 100%, but I see where he's coming from. And I really do see where he's coming from. I can see what he means by that. And when you combine that with what Eddie Hearn has spoken about as far as the losses he took trying to build up big fights for Devin Haney and not walking away with the profits that he wanted to. You see how Bob Arum kind of treated the situation as far as the offer they gave him to fight Sandor Martin, and, you know, talking about losses he may have taken with putting certain fights together. Listen, man, no, he actually didn't. Bob Arum didn't take losses because that was the Lomachenko fight. Maybe he did though. I don't know, but I'm saying that at the end of the day, he's been getting paid a lot of money. People like, you know, the Tank fans and the people who support Tank will go on record. I believe I've heard them all saying how Devin Haney has produced losses for people that have promoted his fight and said that he was overpaid. I think he hit on a lot of good points in the conversation. I think it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. If you're a Devin Haney fan, you ain't going to like what he said about Devin. If you're a Tank fan, you ain't going to like what he said about Tank. If you're a supporter of Turkey, you might not necessarily like what he said about Turkey. But look, at the end of the day, he was talking boxing, man. I thought the interview was productive. I think if you listen to the interview, he said a lot of things that just wasn't that far-fetched. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if you guys seen the interview, but
yo, Clay, I want to chime in. Like my old boxing trainer used to say, it ain't about who the baddest, it's who the smartest, man. Yep. At the name of the game, you get in the boxing game to make money. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody's saying Tyson Fury was overpaid when he's making his hundreds of millions of dollars, or Anthony Joshua when he's making $70-80 million every time he fights, or Jake Paul. Nobody's saying he's overpaid when he's making money. You're in the entertainment business. Now, as a promoter or a manager, you're at the crap table and you're gambling on your fighter. That's what you're doing. You're gambling that this guy's going to pan out. So, yeah, sometimes you're going to lose some money, and then sometimes you're going to strike gold. It is what it is. You can't get mad when you lose money, and then you're happy when you win. You can't win all the time. I mean, it's been a lot of fighters. You put a lot of money behind these guys, and they don't pan out. Maybe they were something that you thought. They find out they wasn't that guy. It is what it is. But you get a guy like a AJ, somebody that you can market. Wasn't the best fighter, but hey, I can sell this guy. That's what it's all about. It's about selling a product. I mean, as a promoter or matchmaker, you look to put your guy in the best position to win. It's whether that's fighting a guy when he's been drinking a lot, whether that's fighting a guy coming off a loss, that's what's putting rehydration on a guy. Anything you can do to handicap that guy to give your guy the advantage, you take it. because the end goal is to make as much money. I got to sell you this guy as the best fighter that you've ever seen. That's why it's called a promoter. That's why you can take a trash rapper and you continue to promote this guy. Next thing you know, he's the best rapper that ever picked up a microphone. It's all smoke and mirrors at the end of the day, man. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. Floyd Mayweather told you what the game was. He used to come out with a goddamn ski mask on, letting y'all know what time it was. He walked into the ring with a ski mask on and said, "This is a robbery. I'm robbing y'all." Right. And you know, it is what it is. That's boxing, bro.
No, I agree.
That's right.
Okay. To add to that, man, like I say, I don't understand the protect or worry about the promoter game that people play. I really don't understand. It's so concerned if the promoter making money. That's all game, man. These promoters, they done made money before the fight ever got put on, man. And even if they do lose on the fight, you know, they done won on so many when that fighter was getting paid low. So it all evens out. But just to give you an example of the misconception people have that, this fighter losing all this money for this promoter. I got a short on my channel if anybody wants to see it, and it's Eddie Hearn in an interview. And they asking him, what was the most money you lost on a fight, and who was the fighter? Now we know Devin Haney done fought for Eddie Hearn and whoever else done fought for Eddie Hearn. Come to find out, the fighter that lost him the most money was Lomachenko. When Lomachenko faced Luke Campbell in the UK. Now, a lot of people don't even know Lomachenko been on pay-per-view before. So it was Loma that lost him the most money, and the amount of money that he lost was just $1 million, man. So I don't understand why people had this. I feel sorry for the promoter. Know how to make money, man. They already done secured the bag before the fight started. That's how it works. You gonna get that return for the fight starter. Or you gonna get the first 2.5 million, 3 million, whatever. You already got your bag. So it's only the fighters that, if you're on a pay-per-view card, that's taking the risk. That's why they say eat what you kill. The promoter already got paid, man. Which I don't understand why they tend to want to protect the promoter so much. He know what he's doing. He a businessman.
Yeah, are you talking about fans too, Rich, or you talking about box?
Fans. Yeah. The fans tend, they want to protect the PBC. Oh, Devin didn't make his promoters. What are we talking about, man? In the NFL, we promote the player's salary. That's what we do in the NFL. Promote all the players' salary. Don't nobody care about the owners. How you gonna build a sport worrying about the owners? You promote the players.
I think you know how that goes sometimes.
I'm pretty sure Eddie Hearn has lost more than $1 million.
Well, that's what he said. That's what I said. We gotta stop being pretty sure and listen to what they say, though. This is what they say. Everybody want to have an opinion, but the man telling you out of his mouth. This is what it is.
The promoters gamble also. They also gamble. They bet money. A lot of people don't talk about that. They be betting on these fights, man.
They do.
They make them boys making money hand over fist, man.
And I think
I think they definitely do. Yeah.
And I think if you're talking about what fighter he lost the most money over would be Canelo, because they lost that $30 million, whatever that contract, or $300 million contract. $300 million, right? But if you're talking about a single fight, I could see the Loma and Luke Campbell fight, because Luke Campbell was supposed to be that guy. He was the WBC champion at the time, and he was supposed to be that guy that was supposed to knock off Lomachenko coming up in weight. So I understand where you're coming from, to Rich. That makes a lot of sense, and I did hear that interview.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in Boxing Hacker as well, but I just want to go ahead and say, look, at the end of the day, when we talking about fans, they're looking for any edge and leverage they can to discredit the fighter who's on the opposite side of their fighter. That's just how it works. So if they can take shots at the pay, if they can take shots at their popularity, if they can take shots at their girlfriend, if they can take shots at who he fought, if they can take shot, wherever the shot is, that's
their hair getting braided.
You know what I'm saying? That's just how it's always been, man. Nobody ever cared what the promoters are making. They just using it because it leverages an argument against a fighter at some point or another. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic to Boxing Hacker. I know you just stepped in the building.
Salute you guys, man. What up?
Hey, salute. Hey, Clay, I got to hop off. Hey, salute to everybody on the panel. Thanks for having me, y'all. Thank you.
All right, Coach. Salute.
All right, Coach Eddie.
All right, thank you.
There's so much to unpack there of the whole what Paulie said, right? To preface this, I didn't actually watch the interview. I've heard snippets of what happened. I've heard comments from other people of what happened, I did watch, like Paulie's previous interviews where he was talking about like European fighters are leading the sport, which back then seemed racist because it wasn't true, but maybe it's probably more true today than it was back then. Because what the European fighters are doing in the Olympics and also in the pros. But as far as the whole comments about Devin Haney, one thing I never liked the whole thing where people will say like, "Oh, fighters should fight how much they're worth," or they don't fight how much they're worth. I think, hey, every fighter should try to get as much money out of the sport as they can.
Sure, for sure.
Like if you're a fighter, you negotiate as hard as you can to get as much money you can, because guess what? Those promoters, the sanctioning bodies, they're making money off you, a lot of money off you. So if you can get more money, why not? And people always make comments, "Oh, Devin might have lost money here or this or that." But let's put it in real context, right? Devin Haney made more money in his career than Paulie Malignaggi did. So those business decisions that Devin Haney is making, hate it or love it, relatively speaking, he's done well because of the way he's been negotiating. You look at the 135 division, like I always say, if you take out Tank, right? 135, 140 division, Devin Haney is the second most highest paid fighter in those two divisions. If you just remove the top, and the person before him is literally like the golden boy of our era, right? Between Tank and Canelo, you say like the golden boys of our era. Like they can fight anybody and be on pay-per-view, they go and sell out, But besides them, the lower divisions, you look at somebody like Devin, and they maybe Inoue and then Devin, It's sort of like that for that, right? So like it's funny how people be like, "Oh, Devin Haney should do this or do that." The brother's running a multi-million-dollar company, and it was based on those kind of decisions, based on him being very stringent in some places and taking chances in other places. He took a chance with that 3-fight deal, right? But he was stringent, like, not wanting to fight for less money. Because if you fight for less money, people start valuing you at that money you fought for last time,
Right.
So, like people remember, it's what boxing about what you did for me lately. So like if I fight for $1 million today, then my next fight, they're gonna be like, "Well, we're just gonna pay you 1.2. You only fought for $1 million last time anyway."
Right. Right.
So all those things are important to say, As far as go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that I was just gonna say that I think that's just me. I am listening to Paulie Malignaggi on a very neutral level. I don't have nothing against him. I don't hold him in the light that a lot of people hold him in. Just listening to him, just off the strength of his information, he wasn't even throwing shots at Devin Haney, but I think if anything, he's talking about the boxing industry, right? Just basically saying that you haven't been making these fighters earn, what I'm saying, the highest paydays, and what the significance of him saying that was off the strength of when it comes time to fight the biggest fights, it's so difficult to make the biggest fights because you've already given these guys their highest paydays to a point to where they become impossible to negotiate with when it comes on making the biggest fights, right? And I thought I understood where he was coming from with it, right? He's basically saying you guys didn't stretch it out the right way. You didn't pay it out the right way. You didn't make the biggest payday the biggest fight. You gave them the biggest payday to make all these other fights in between. And when it came time to make the biggest payday, the amount of money you'd have to commit to paying this fighter, you have to be honest with yourself. You don't have access to that kind of money, right? So the fighter's job being that I'm supposed to negotiate my highest payday based off of my highest payday that I've had. The fighter's 100% in the right position, but has the promoters been handling this in the right way, paying these fighters accordingly, so that when it came time to put the two best of the best fighters in front of each other and make that fight happen for the fans, did you corner yourself in a way to where you can't even afford to give the fans the biggest fight anymore, because the fighter is not going to go down, he's going to go up based off of the significant fight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Let's look at it in another angle too, man. If we look at sports as a whole, the pay structures have changed. I mean, they were given guaranteed contracts or large amounts guaranteed up front to these to these athletes now, due to the fact that these guys are getting hurt in the middle or the end of their contracts, and they're not able to recoup. They're playing. They're putting their bodies on the line, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, golf, even. I mean, whatever the case may be, they're putting their bodies on the line for these promoters or these managers, and they have to recoup. So I don't blame them for trying to get the money up front. And I kind of understand what Paulie's saying, because in old school, the way I grew up, Michael Jordan earned 25, 30 million a year, up to 50. I think his last contract was like 50 million a year. He was signing 1 and 2 year deals, right? He earned that. a lot of these basketball players were coming into the NBA making $30 million up front and then getting paid per game and all these accolades for making playoffs, getting championships, sneaker contracts, this and that. They didn't earn it. So I understand what Paulie's saying. But at the same time, we have to look at the wave that came in. Floyd changed that for a lot of fighters. Why? Because, you know what I mean? It was like, why are we taking pennies on your cut? We're the ones putting our bodies on the line. So I understood what Floyd was about. And then here's where the bridge got burned. I tried to mention it yesterday when AB and Deontay Wilder, they were getting paid these large amounts of money to fight on these cards, and it was supposed to be the next big thing. And then they met their match and they lost. They were no longer those faces that everybody expected them to be. And now they're always looking for the next guy. So now they're paying all these guys to be the next guy, and that's where it becomes a falter. Right. Is Paulie a little jealous over it? I think so. I think he's mad because he didn't fall into that category of being the paydays, and I think he would have liked it. You know what I mean? To have some of that money and negotiate his career that way, but he unfortunately did not, and that is a sign of hate a little bit to me in my case.
Yeah. Hey, let me give you another angle of looking at it. If you say you're worth $3 million or $4 million, you're basing it on something. Even as the fighter, you're basing it on something. This is your work. If the promoter says you're not worth that, he's simply not going to pay you. So if the promoter pays you, he's paying you for a reason. Maybe he knows what he's going to do to get the money. You should. Right. So let me give you another example, like Turkey Out of Sheep, because it's kind of the lane that, I haven't shot any videos this year, but I'm kind of going down a different lane. But if you look at Turkey Out of Sheep, they say he loses money on the fights, right? He loses money on the fight. So let me go back and give you another example. You ever in anybody's city or major city, the radio station every year I have like Hot 97, the birthday bash or whatever case. They have all these big artists at this birthday bash, right? Now all these artists alone will be doing concerts making $50,000-$75,000. So how does the radio station get all these artists to perform at one event? Because that radio station has a promoter. All right. How they do it is because that particular concert is subsidized by the government. You see what I mean? So they're paying the other half. You see what I mean? So when you look at Turkey put on these fights, people say they're losing money. It's being subsidized by the PIF fund. Okay, we can take it a little farther. Oh, Devin Haney made this much fighting Cambosis, or he's overcharging or overpriced, which I think he actually took a low amount. But guess why you see the fight in Australia? Because the Australia government is subsidizing the fight. They're paying for the fight. We got to stop worrying about these damn promoters, man. They're making money on top of money, and they're trying. Now, I'm gonna land the plane right here to give it, because I look at a lot of these interviews and hear what they say. Eddie Hearn said, I knew Bob when Bob wasn't able to sign Shakur with 2 years left on his contract. He said Bob operates like the NFL. When he couldn't get Shakur for that $3 million for 5 years, he knew Shakur would be worth more by the time the contract ended. So when he was not able to re-sign Shakur at that low ball price, that he wasn't going to give Shakur any big fights to up his value anymore.
Right.
You see what I mean? So Eddie Hearn, I knew. So Eddie Hearn, I understand I'm going to have to pay him a little bit more. I'm going to have to pay him a little bit more because he's actually worth more. So we convinced that Shakur is worth the $3 million. No, that was the low ball offer. That he was low balling at $3 million. Patrick Mahomes got a $500 million contract, and he's low ball because they called him early. He's not the highest paid quarterback. And that's what they do. So they're catching you early, catching you before your value get, and we're cheering for them to get even more value. We can't worry about these promoters. They know what they're doing.
Right. And that was a great that was a great observation, man. I like the breakdown too. It put a lot of perspective on the topic, man. I ain't gonna even lie to you, man. That was a good yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I think it's very complicated when you really think about it, right? Like, I feel like it's different. Like, some people, like, you look at like the Brian Norman situation, right? When he tried to fight Boots and he was asking for exponential amount of money that he's never made before. I felt like that was sort of like not really like a money situation, more like, well, this guy might potentially beat me. I want to like cash out just in case, I felt like that because he ended up fighting somebody for way less,
Right.
So, but I do think there are situations as well where it's like, And then you have the Devin situation, right, where it's like Devin had like what I'll call like a rough outing his last fight, right? And we don't know where his stock is right now, right? So like, yeah, promoters trying to take advantage of that and try to probably like lowball him a little bit, because they'll be like, well, your last outing wasn't that great, so there's potential that you probably took a hit, But in Devin's scenario, see what like the whole paradox of the situation is that like once you start making a certain amount of money, you live to that standard,
right?
And every fight that you take, that's a fight less in your career, right? So yeah, because that's a fight that you have to take damage to your body. You have to go through a rigorous training count. You have to cut weight. That's one fight less in your career. So for Devin's case, for him, I do understand his plight where it's like I need to continue making a certain amount of money because that's the standard I'm living. I can't just take, especially if I believe I'm still worth money. Like I'm not gonna just take something less. But like it's a hard predicament, like because it's like him versus the promoters. Because a lot of promoters probably, like I said, use last fight and be like, well, you did take a hit. We don't know where your stock is, so on and so forth, So it's tricky.
I think that there's like multiple different like moving parts to this whole entire thing that, and I think like Paulie Malignaggi was speaking to one part of it. I think we're speaking, like I think Too Rich is speaking to another part of it. I think you're speaking to another part of it, possibly me as well. As far as there's the part from the fans' point of view and what they should be worried about and what they should be focused on. There's definitely a part of what the fighters' point of view is and what they should be focused on, right? And then there's another part of what the promoters are supposed to be focused on as well. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I would say, generally speaking, just from my point of view, the whole boxing game, you would like to think benefits from how all these guys are able to come together. And whenever that agreement finally happens on how it's going to work out, that boxing in general benefits from it, right? That it moves forward in a positive way that makes the sport bigger, gives us better fights, makes space for other talent to come in, for them to get involved in better fights, for them to get paydays. So obviously Floyd Mayweather and the way he negotiated his contracts and the way he made his money, he wants that to translate into the future generation of boxing, because maybe he felt like certain advantages were being taken of himself, and that he had to make certain power moves to pave the way so that other fighters didn't have to go through the same thing, right? But at the same time, the next generation taking the helms and saying, all right, we're going to take this advice and we're going to take this information and do what benefits us. You expect the promoters to negotiate in a way to where, okay, we're going to understand and meet you halfway and get you this money. But at the same time, the promoters listening to the fans, making sure that it's okay to pay these fighters as you see fit, but make sure you're making the biggest fights possible as well. Make sure that when they're getting paid these high paydays, that it's for the most competitive fights there. Taking into consideration, of course, that the development of the fighter, that the building of the fighter has to be part of it as well. It's a checks and balances system. Too much of anything is gonna be a bad thing, but taking that into consideration. And then the fans, of course, doing what they're supposed to do, in my opinion, which is not pay attention to the pay at all and just be focused on pushing back and requesting and demanding at times certain fights being made and paying for the fights that are being made that you want, and also having a little bit of discipline about yourself to not necessarily always just support with your eyes closed to things that you think are hurting the sport. And Paulie basically saying that he's putting the pressure more on the promoter, right? And on the promotional companies and on the platforms like the HBOs, the Showtimes, the Foxes, whatever, the Amazons, the DAZNs, however you guys are facilitating these fights, to take into consideration that when you're paying these fighters completely way too much to not fight certain fights, when it comes down to the big fights happening, you're going to keep running into the wall, and you've been running into the wall. And here comes Turki Al-Sheikh following suit, right, with what's been here before, but people are scared of, okay, but he's going to continue doing this, but is he going to leave? Well, maybe he does leave, right? But the reality is he's not reinventing the wheel. He's following suit. You've put him in a position to where he has to pay the money he's paying to give you guys a fight that you want to see. So yes, he's overpaying the fighters, but he's overpaying fighters that probably have been been being overpaid, you know what I'm saying, in order to get these fights to get made. We're winning as the fans to see the fight, but the fear is always going to be there from the turkey detractors. The fear is going to be there from people like Paulie Malignaggi that are always going to say, yeah, but he's doing this, but if he's not going to maintain this, he's going to make it even more impossible to make these fights. So it's an interesting conversation. Everybody's point holds weight, right? But I don't know, and I don't know if anybody on the panel knows of a real life solution to this avalanche. The momentum is there already. The wheel's already turning. It's already heading in this direction. Is there a solution, or do we just got to go with the flow and just see where it goes?
I think Turkey's doing a great job. I don't understand like people's issue with what he's doing. Also, I don't even believe. I always say like the business model that they have in Saudi is not the same business model they have in America. The way they value fighters is based on their business model. So we can't even say they're overpaying or underpaying fighters. They invest in they're doing a long-term investment versus American promotion companies who are just short-term and looking like quick returns. Their investment, they're not looking for quick returns all boxing. They're very long-term. So like the money they're allocating towards the fighters is something they plan to do. So they're not it's just like they value the fighters more because they're the catalyst to what's going to push their investment forward.
Right.
So
hey, I got the solution is to me long term is what Turkey doing. So what happened is these rich promoters, they're rich, right? So they're playing for wins. They want the guy to win. He stay undefeated. Well, when you get to the wealthy side of people that got a lot of money, they actually play for losses. So what happens is you got this fighter, say like Tank, and he's making X amount of dollars, or Canelo, they making X amount of dollars. They're actually the enemy of your business now because they're so high priced. If you put them in a big fight, you see, with a guy, he's probably not going to command what Canelo's commanding, but it's a good opposition. If he's able to beat Canelo, now you have a new rising star at a lower price. You see what I mean? By revolving the guys at the top, it'll keep the money. You see, one guy eventually he's gonna rise up and he's gonna, get to high prices. We need to put him in a fight that he could lose, not win. We need to be. See, that's what happened in the NFL. A lot of people don't understand in the NFL or any pro sport that's regulated, you play for losses. So yeah, Kansas City might win the Super Bowl or whatever the case, but who was the worst team? The worst team gonna get the first draft pick. We're going to get a worse team the advantage. So we can build them up and eventually dethrone the person at the top. You see what I mean? It's all built to take away the guy at the top. This control the price because this new rookie comes in on a rookie contract. We got him for 3 years, a hell of a deal. Well, we could do fighters the same way. By making sure we put the guy at the top against a tough fight. We're looking for you to lose, bro. If you keep winning, we'll keep paying, but we're looking for you to lose. And the next guy comes in at a lot cheaper rate and we build him up for a few fights. We'll make a lot of profit and then eventually he'll rise and his pay will go up and we look to take him out. This is what the old fight game was. This is why it's so exciting because it's a benefit in business wise from making the best fight the best. It will control the money.
I love it. I love it.
That sounds about right, and that seems like that's across the board. A lot of all American promoter companies, even no matter how it's structured, how they pay their fighters, it seems like it's across the board.
Exactly.
But guys, it's about that time. We're going on the 3.5 hours. It's been going and going and going. I love it, man. Today was another great show. Talked a lot about this topic that I thought was a good topic, but we didn't really get a chance to get too rich. I mean, we talked about David Benavidez, David Morrell, Stephen Fulton, and all those guys in that grand rival yesterday. We'll talk more about it. I think the live, I'm going to be covering a live with Blue Blood on Saturday on the fight. I think that's the game plan.
Who y'all got winning?
Which one?
For the Morrell versus Benavidez.
I'm leaning towards David Benavidez. I'm gonna give his resume a little bit more weight in this conversation. I do think he's dialed in, according to Grand Rivals. What I saw very dialed in. I think he's well insulated from anything that would distract him. I loved the support I saw him have yesterday. The Grand Rivals. There was so many just David Benavidez supporters there, and then his family, his son, his father, his brother, his wife, everybody affiliated. What's going on over there seems to be all dialed in on one goal, which is to come out victorious in this situation. And David Morrell, it's his first time there under the lights. I kind of saw a little bit of that pressure on his forehead a little bit yesterday, just a little bit, nothing crazy, but you see him processing and taking the hate that's coming from the David Benavidez fans and the lights and the big stage that it really is, and the weight of the fight seems like it's starting to go on his shoulders. I think it's going to be still a very close fight, 55-45, 60-40 type of situation. But right now, today, I ain't going to lie, I'm leaning towards David without being surprised at all if David Morrell stopped David Benavidez on Saturday.
Did he look sharper to you?
Go ahead.
In the workout, in the open workout, did you all think Benavidez looked sharper?
Morrell didn't show anything. He did like a 3-minute like talk and media workout. He didn't really show anything, so it's kind of difficult.
It's hard,
Benavidez was the one guy who came out there and actually put a whole entire routine together. He shadow boxed, he did mid work, he showed his movement, he showed a lot of things. He came out there and really showed it. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for David Morrell. Maybe it's best to be isolated and don't show anybody what you're really working on and just kind of keep everybody second guessing. Yeah, secret dance move. Am I changing my pick? I'm leaning towards David Benavidez. I told you guys I've been up and down with this from the beginning. Every time I start this conversation, I tell you guys every day. It's very similar to the Dimitri Bivol Arturo Beterbiev fight for me. It was just difficult for me to land my plane on one fighter. But today, right now, I am leaning towards David Benavidez. I don't want to act, I want to be honest. Who knows if that changes between now and Saturday? I don't think it will right now. I can see the path to David Morrell winning this fight, but David Benavidez just seems very dialed in. He does.
Morrell looks like he's coming to his way, man. He looks like he's just about to be his time to shine. I don't see the light issue. I mean, the guy sold out the Armory in was it Minnesota for quite some time. I mean, it's not as big as the stage he's going to be at in Vegas, but he's used to the lights, and he's been the main guy. So it's not like he's been like on somebody's undercard over there. He's been that guy putting on the show. Not to mention also, David Morrell looks like he's very poised. He's the quarterback. He's the Tom Brady, and he knows he's going to win this game. You know what I mean? He knows there's going to be some bumps and bruises, get a sack or two, maybe throw an interception. But that's not going to stop me from putting these points on this board. And I'm going to not just throw touchdowns. We're not using field goals like you, bro. We're not doing them little cheap uppercuts and you know what I mean? That's just for show. We ain't got to do all that. I think we got a 6th, 7th round knockout. David Morrell, utilizing the jab, setting up the feints with the body work, wearing out David Benavidez. And he taking it to the top, knocking him out. That's it. And as far as Benavidez, the only shot he has is just taking him to deep waters. I don't see the footwork with David Benavidez. I don't care who he's worked out with. You're a creature of habit. He's the same guy that I've seen fight the last couple of fighters. I don't think he has a beard like that. Yeah, he's been in there with some punches, but those guys have always been smaller fighters. Remember, David Benavidez has always been the bigger guy. So, yeah, he shows that he can take a punch. Can he take a punch with a guy that's the same size as him, that has power, that has an equalizer? That's where it comes into question. That's what I'm waiting to see.
Hey, well, check this out. I'm going to give y'all a different, something to think about with this fight, because this is a big fight for another reason. Is Morrell PBC?
Yep.
I think so. PBC. I would say he is, yeah.
Okay, so David Benavidez at PBC. Man, this is a big fight now. I'm going to take the angle. I'm picking David Benavidez. I just got to give him respect, like I say, for the experience. Morrell only got 11 fights. I'm going to rock with David. So let's say David wins this fight. And say this fight does about 300,000 pay-per-views. He's going to be the next face of the PBC. Because
they're both named David. David.
Let me finish. This is David Benavidez. If David Benavidez wins this fight, because let me tell you why. Right now, the PBC is promoting knockouts. because the product is knockouts. It's Tank Davis. You gotta understand, people have been sold that. They've been sold that opinion. Because when Floyd Mayweather was fighting, they didn't sell you knockouts. They sold you the sweet science, the shoulder roll, the flying flashy. Okay, Tank come along, they sell you knockouts. What happens if David Benavidez wins this fight? He's the monster now. He done beat the Andrade. He done beat Caleb Plant. Now he would be beating Morrell. The promotion of David Benavidez has got to be totally different. He's the PBC's version of Terrence Crawford. He's the seek and destroy guy now. And so you're going to have to promote him like that. This is going to cause internal strife, because the more David Benavidez do, and more we started, he already talking about Benavidez, a better be, a B-Ball might be next. The dude's stepping. He's stepping. And the more he step, the more it's going to show that Tank Davis is not stepping. And those are going to have to be two different promotions. And this is going to cause internal strife, because all the shit started in the inside first. So just by default, David Benavidez win, he the monster now. You're going to have to promote him as such, and you're going to have to pay him as such.
Yeah, that's going to be real interesting, man. I like that. And just not to push back, but Ray, you were pushing back at the whole lights thing. Yes, David Morrell has definitely been in the lights. He's definitely been headlining at the Armory for a very long time. But I don't remember the last time I seen him in a situation where the whole building is against him, where everybody is heckling him, where, you know what I'm saying, where that's the energy. It's just a different, I don't know. We'll see. If he processes it well, that's a good thing. There's maturity about it. There's going to take some discipline about it, focus about it, but it's going to be loud. I heard it's a sold out arena. I heard it's like, an $8 million plus gate that's already been sold out. I heard the seats are sold out. 90% of those people in that building are Mexican fans who are going to be screaming for David Benavidez to do something great in that fight. David Benavidez is well acclimated to the scene. He's not the outside guy looking in. He's the inside guy in his own backyard with all the love. David Morrell, even yesterday in the whole entire media workout, responding to the fans that were heckling him, like, hey, man, relax. You know what I mean? Like, you could see him kind of like dealing with it. And it wasn't a bad thing, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you could see that he was there dealing with, and maybe in a good way. Maybe he's dealing with it in a good way, but he's definitely acknowledging the atmosphere. You saw him yesterday, kind of looking around like, you motherfuckers really hate me. Like, all right, it's all good. You hate me.
That's good.
Make it happen.
So let's check this. Let's flip that a little bit. So all those fans that came to that fight are not also Benavidez fans. A lot of them are Canelo fans, and they want Benavidez to lose. I could tell you how many people that are rooting for him to lose, as well as they want Canelo to win. So this makes it a really good contestant. You're gonna have a lot of people there that are supporting Morrell, and not to mention that the Cuban fan base travels. You know what I mean? They're coming from Miami. They're coming from the Minnesota areas. They're coming from California. They're coming from New York. They're going to be there. So he'll have his support. You heard the other guy on the other side of the stadium saying, yeah, I hope you knock him out, right? So it's going to go both ways. We're going to see that. And, of course, he's going to get heckled a little bit. And not to mention, that lady enticed that conversation with that guy in the audience and said, oh, did you hear that? And he was like, what? So he probably wasn't paying attention to it. So now that created that atmosphere. That wasn't necessarily him. But good move, Clay. Good chess move. It's okay. I got the rook, bro. We good.
No. I mean, chess move. I'm acknowledging all the outside intangibles, right? And just saying that this is going to be an interesting fight based off of the way that David Morrell is able to handle all this energy that's out there, and also based on David Benavidez's ability to somehow neutralize the athleticism of David Morrell. It's going to be a close fight. You know what I mean? It's going to be a close fight.
I don't know if it's going to be a close fight. I feel like one person's going to win and they're going to win big. Okay. It's hard to say which one. I think Benavidez might have the hand speed advantage. It's hard to say.
Right.
Because Benavidez shoe shines really fast and his punches are very one to the target, But then you have Morrell, who's also tall. Benavidez is always known for his combination punching and stuff like that. But it's different when you're punching up versus when you're punching down. Like when you're punching somebody that's shorter than you, or like just a little bit short, it's easier to like throw those kind of combinations versus somebody who might be taller than you or even bigger than you. So I think that's going to play a part in that dynamic. It's really going to come. It's who's going to be able to. Well, the question will be if Benavidez can force his will like he normally does, or will Morrell be too slick for that? I think that's what's really going to come down to.
And here's the gem. I forgot to mention this. Benavidez is going to try to put on some weight, bro, to try to smother some of that power that's coming from Morrell, knowing that he just passed all his testing, and that's going to slow Benavidez down. That's going to make him fight an ugly fight. So look into that being a problem too.
Right. No doubt, man. Yeah, hey guys, man.
Okay.
I'm about to say I'm gonna let you guys get your closing arguments or closing statements because it's about that time for me. I got some other stuff to do, and I'm sure Blue gonna be on me at some point in time because he's at the hotel today. So we'll see what he does. But I definitely got some other things I got to do. So I don't know. We can start it with. I mean, we can send it to Boxing Hacker and have him close it out, and then go up to Too Rich, and then end it up with me and Ray up here. So go ahead, Boxing Hacker.
Yeah, man. Salute to you guys, man. Salute to the panel in the chat. Like I said, when it comes to Paulie's always had drastic views about things. A lot of which sounded like very controversial. I won't call him a racist. I think he has like use a race card for his race card basically at certain times. But I won't say he's like a racist. I don't think that's true for him. But I think like we gotta be a little more fair to the fighters at the end of the day. Like I think looking at fighters like, oh, fighters should make this much, or like fighters are pricing themselves out. Boxing is a rough business, At the end of the day, if you can make more money, go ahead. If you feel like you're worth more money, who can really argue? It's your life on the line, So it's hard for me to like tell a fighter what they're worth or what they believe they're worth, Hopefully more of the good fights can still happen, And as far as the avalanche that keeps happening for boxing, I understand people's like fear about Turkey, fights are happening in Saudi or this and that. But at the end of the day, like when you really look at it, like the landscape of boxing has changed. We no longer have like Showtime or HBO pay-per-view. Everything's now becoming streaming, which means there's less people potentially that can even watch it because not everybody has streaming services like that, The new generation does, but not a lot of the old generation does, So that also makes a big difference in our sport, But so I think we should definitely be. I think at least as far as him being right now, I think it's definitely a good thing. Whether he's gonna be there in the future, who knows? But we know we need help now. Right. In the future, if he decides to dip out or Saudi decides like they've reached the pinnacle of their investment, then we'll just need to figure out something different. Boxing has to try some other way. So I think that's with that. I'll just leave it with that, guys. Salute to you guys. Clay, Ray, Too Rich, the panel in chat. Everybody have a good day, okay?
Salute,
people.
Salute, man. Thank you, man. Hey, Too Rich, great having you on the panel today, man. What you got to say, man? How you feeling?
Hey, appreciate you letting me come up, man. Just want to get some stuff off my chest, man. And I just tell people, man, stop worrying about these promoters. They got it. They know what they doing, man. And if they want to make boxing better, promote what the fighters make, just like they do in the NFL. Make these fighters larger than life. What is Tank Dave? Why we don't know what Tank Dave is making for this fight? Why do we know what Joshua and Tyson Fury and Usyk? We knew what they made. Turkey gonna put out a list of what these fighters making. So I'm saying he's operating more along the lines of the NFL, adding centralization. See, right now, it's no centralization in boxing. It's like the music industry. Anybody could come in. We could come in. See what I mean? So Turkey is adding some centralization, and doing so, you got to promote the fighters, what they make. Stop doing the shady promotion thing where you want to keep everything a secret. Promote what the fighters make them a bigger star. A star, what makes the difference between a boxing star and a star? Tank Davis is a star. Floyd Mayweather was a star. Then you have Terrence Crawford, which is a boxing star. The stars influence life outside the thing they do. So Floyd Mayweather promoted the culture, his lifestyle outside of boxing. People are buying into Tank's lifestyle outside of boxing. That's how you create a star. You see what I mean? He got to be bigger than the thing that he does. So if you want to make these boxers star, you got to make them stars. That's what promotion is. Do your real job. Promote. And yes, promotion is expensive, but you got to find a different way to make money. My advice is the new Boxer 360 deal. It's going to put pressure on understanding that boxer is worth more than just what he's making in the ring. that you could benefit, just like the music industry do, from all facets of that boxer. The promoters will make more money, the business will make more money, and the guy will be bigger than life. So, you know, that's my advice. And, I'm going to go deep into it. But, I mean, I appreciate it, man. I'm rambling, but let me get out of here.
Nah, man, I appreciate you too, Rich, man. It's always great having you up here, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you to Coach Eddie too, who's up here for a hot minute. 2 Cents Boxing as well. Who else was up here? I don't know. There's a couple other people. Respect was up here. Everybody who came and participated and engaged and made this an even better show today. I appreciate you guys. It's on you, Ray. We did it again.
Man. Listen, I just want to shout out to Jin Sasaki, Japanese welterweight. He just moved into the number 3 and 4 spots across the board. And he put a good show on the undercard, and he was the co-main in the Inoue fight. Something to look forward to. He's calling out the big names. He's definitely a boxer that comes forward. He has 1 loss. He has a good knockout percentage. And listen, I would like to say, man, shout out to that dude. And I would like to see him over here in the States fighting one of our champions or one of the champions across the world. And let's get his guys just due. Shout out to Jin Sasaki, man.
No doubt. All right. So on that note, at this point, I appreciate all you guys, man. Thanks for showing up again. Remember to hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take an opportunity to go ahead and do that. Appreciate all the love, man. And at this point, you know how we carry it.
Yeah.
Out.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, yeah. They hate when you elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly, yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they want to come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation, now I got rollies, all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Water all blood like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came with. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else, I had to set them straight, yeah. I had to ball, so I had to renovate, I know. They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.